But it's also why I say, and this sounds a bit strange, but a blind golf shot is almost a pure shot in golf because it's just you, the ball, and your imagination.
Wow. You're
definitely a writer.
Yeah.
You definitely are a writer.
Profound thing ever said on
For
this
sure.
podcast right there. Fore Blades by Barstool Sports. It is Open Championship week. End of our week in terms of Scotland, travel, the whole deal. But we got a big show. We got Roger McStravick is his name, who is St Andrews nut. History nut. He's written, 10 books, 7 books, something like that. We talked to him for about an hour. We get amazing stories. He goes through all of the background about the old course, about the Open Championship. So we're going to throw that in at the end, which again is about an hour long and very different than a lot of the good stuff. But it's a historical week, 150th of the Open Championship. So get excited about that. Get all jacked up. Good for you. We're on the bus back we're going to Edinburgh. Edinburgh.
We are literally leaving St Andrews as we do this podcast.
There's an air conditioner right on top of us in the bus. We have to have it. It's hot as fucking Scotland. I don't know why people told us it was going to be cold, windy, rainy. Haven't seen a drop of rain in 7 days here in Scotland.
Trottie, what's the deal with the weather?
We've got Trottie back on the show. Welcome to Chris Trott, the most electric speaker of golf clubs in the game of golf I think we've ever had on the show.
Nobody speaks about golf clubs like you.
I don't think so, boys. That and Curry.
And Curry. We've had quite the fucking trip with you.
We got to talk about the Curry. It has been quite a trip with Trottie.
He has a different mic on, so if that's a little startling to the listeners, listen, we're grinding. We're on a fucking bus out to go play Hickory Golf at Musselburgh.
Old Musselburgh.
Well done, boys. Getting there. Getting there. We're at the end of the trip. You're getting there.
We're going to use Hickories.
Musselburgh?
Proper enough. That was good.
You just kind of faded off at the end.
Sort of.
Kind of started talking.
We established that in the whiskey tasting, didn't we?
So, Trottie, we've been out of the course. I wanted to ask you real quick. We've been out of the course, old course, conditions, all that. What kind of, you expecting people to be able to, you expecting guys to use clubs that are going to flight it more? I was watching Rory just roast a 2-iron on the range today. Is it going to be kind of the firm, fast Open Championship people are hoping for?
100%. I think, look, jokes aside, this is the best day Scotland's ever had in the history of history. It just simply is. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then you've already hit the nail on the head. 2-iron. You've seen it this morning, and I think that you guys have even experienced, even at the level of golf that I've witnessed, the strike of a long iron off this turf, the Carnoustie turf as well that we had yesterday. It's just immense. And players want to feel that. They're all like the rest of us. They want to hit the ball, strike it, hit the little hold-off fade, taste the divot in the mouth. There's no divots that taste like Scottish links divots, boys. Just not. And if you're an absolute swordsman with golf clubs, then you know that there's nothing that tastes like a Scottish links divot. Not even Curry.
Oh, Curry.
Can we talk about Curry? Or do we want to talk more about the Open
We
Championship?
can talk Curry. I want to talk Curry.
All right. So
we left people. We were
Proper
still at
English
Dundonald.
food.
So no one has heard.
I don't remember the last time we recorded.
No one has heard us since we
idea.
made our trip to St Andrews. Our first experience to St Andrews.
All right, we'll talk about that.
There's a lot of snacking items to talk about then.
Went to M&S.
M&S.
Holy shit! Let's start with M&S.
I mean, Percy Pig's off the charts. Obviously, that's the signature series there. Trent got into that.
So good.
What is M&S?
I'm going to go the other way.
What is M&S for the listeners?
You're going to go the other way on M&S just for the controversy.
No, I know. I think it was average candy.
Jesus.
Explain what M&S is.
So obviously, in the UK, we don't do gas stations, service stations like you. We do it proper. You know what I mean? Meaning you bowl up, you get your petrol, you pay through the nose for it. We all know that situation at the moment. But then you obviously need to soften the blow, a legendary snacking item with it. So it all started that you go into M&S and they take British candy, which, look, boys, I love America. God bless America and that. But British candy is strong. And then they put a twist on it, and our conversation started with the snap of a Jaffa cake, and you boys were just going to walk past the lottery machine, and off you go. You're going to take a piss, get a coffee, and leave. And I was like, lads, Belgium chocolate milk, different gravy. Let's get in there. Let's experience this. We bought the shop out of Belgium chocolate milk, simply. Although I did offer one to a kid, remember, Riggs?
And he denied,
right?
Because
his mum had said he's already had one this morning. You can't go two. No kid can double up on chocolate milk from M&S. So, then we obviously went from there, experienced the other snacks that they had to offer, and I don't think anyone ate the walnut whip. Maybe Avery or Brendan dusted off that. I don't know. I didn't have a walnut whip, didn't see anyone inhale that, but you took us down the peanut candy route, Frankie, which...
Your accent
scoffed at me.
Yeah, your accent makes it sound better, the candy. The chocolate milk was really, really solid. The candy's average besides the Cadbury.
I don't know, man. The Percy Pig was an all-time gummy.
It was good.
All-time
Would
gummy.
you have the Jaffa cakes?
I don't know. I'd all of them.
Here's the
I was
deal, though.
dancing. My hands were dancing.
Here's a dairy intolerant guy telling you how good the chocolate milk is. I mean, does that not speak volumes for M&S? I'm sorry, but
Chocolate milk is very, very strong. That's an elite item. But then after that, your accent makes it sound great, but the candy's shit.
It's shite. It's definitely not shite. I think it's fantastic.
Definitely not shite.
And look, from there, obviously, we moved on, didn't we, lads? And we experienced some of the other delights of Scotland.
So yeah, you were hitting us with. There was a lot of talk about the food coming in, food being bad. The places we've been, the food's actually been damn good so far. But we've been to like country clubs and shit like that.
And Russex Hotel we're staying at.
Russex Hotel, which
Eat
is
at the top
food
of the
there was
hotel.
10
You're
out of
overlooking the 18th green and fairway of St Andrews Old Course. The accommodations in St Andrews was exactly what you need to have for your first experience. We're right in the middle of the town. You're right on the golf course, and you wake up, you go downstairs, you have tea and coffee, looking over the green of 18 of the Old Course. You're like, all the cobblestone and buildings, and you walk to your Starbucks, Trent, and it's just you're in the middle of the town. Trent had to Americanize himself a little bit with the Starbucks.
I mean, they got him here. I'm going to go to them.
Do them.
I love coffee and I love Starbucks coffee, so I have to go there.
Just felt like we were in the town, which we were, and it was really cool to experience that, as opposed to sometimes we go to places and we stay an hour away, we drive in for the day and then we leave. This was we were embedded in the culture.
We were talking, one of our favorite parts of the shops around the area is that the name of the shop is just what they have.
Yeah.
So one of them was great coffee. One of them was burgers. One of them was sandwiches. It's not like McDonald's, Arby's, and all that. It's just very localized, and I really like that about it.
We did have McDonald's last night.
We did.
Yeah, that was a little off the beaten path.
Totally. That was in a weird spot. We were just outside of Carnoustie, kind of in a shitty place.
Yeah,
it's
felt
just
that way.
a shite place, as Trottie would say. Quick question: how long has it been since your last haircut?
I haven't, not since I left the States.
I'm gonna need to get one when I get back. Yeah.
Yeah, Lurch got a weird one.
Yeah, I got Turkish.
Went for a Turkish. I mean, that's the local delicacies of St Andrews for sure. Oh, actually, UK.
Might be time to head to Sport Clips when you get home.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Americanize my cloth that they gave me.
Yeah.
I was talking to Trent Daddy. He just moved to my town, and I was like, "Oh, are you gonna find yourself a barber around here or a place to go?" And he says he already located a Sport Clips, and that's exactly where he goes. He's gone 2 or 3 times already, and now I'm gonna start going there. I didn't even know it was right by our house.
It's like 4 minutes from us. I hop in my Honda Civic.
Perfect.
And I go there and I get my haircut. 2-guard all the way around. People are very nice there.
2-guard?
2-guard.
I just said a 5. You said 2-guard. Give me the 2-guard.
2-guard all the way around.
Do you say when distance around just a 2 or a 5?
I'll say give me a 2 on the sides and clip the top.
The 2-guard is is that for protection?
Oddly specific.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening right now.
What is the term guard? How does that help
that
the
is what
conversation?
They put the guard on the thing.
Oh, the 2-guard from the blade. So it's a
I'm
guard
gonna
of the
start
blade.
saying it. I'm quite happy with that, to be
Me
honest
too.
with you.
Give them all the information they need.
I've been saying that my whole life. I say 2-guard all the way around.
2-guard.
It is.
Give me the 2-guard.
Yeah, it's definitely more specific than you have to be.
Yeah, you can say 2.
Well, at Sport Clips, they have just
We've all
formulated.
been traveling together for so long.
They got signature MVP experience formulated specifically to bring the relaxation of the MVP haircut experience to another level. It's the brand new, super relaxing signature scent on their perfectly steamed hot towel, something you have to smell to believe. Make sure you go in, ask that your stylist for the MVP experience. Not only will you get to try the new scent, but you'll get the 7-point massaging shampoo as well. Smell like an MVP. Sport Clips, they're the pros in men's hair. Why would you go anywhere else? That's the pros in men's hair. Trent's found his Honda Civic too, right? You like the Civic?
I love my Honda
Delivering
Civic.
thus far?
Yeah, it's just a nice little car to zip around town in Bayshore, New York, and I love it. It's a compact car. I like little cars. I like zipping around in a little
Good
car.
on gas.
Yeah.
It's funny
It is.
that you like little cars.
Why?
You're a bigger guy.
I am. My first car when I turned 16 was a 1985 Chevy Caprice. It was my grandma's car. I bought it from her for $1 just to move the title over.
Yep.
And that thing's a boat. Weighs like 4,000 pounds. Feels like you're floating. The transmission,
Civic's
which is
light.
it's a delight. I really love a big car like that, but I also love a small car that you can just zip around in. So I like my Honda Civic.
So you got to enjoy the UK cars. A lot of small cars in the UK.
Yeah, I do. I like something that just feels like a little Hot Wheels
You like
car.
to be a little spoon.
What?
You know, to snuggle. You prefer
Depends
to
on
be
the
a little spoon.
Depends on what I've been through during that day. If it's been a tough day, I'll be a little spoon.
For sure.
Let's talk about
I'm gonna
Indian food. That's what I want to talk about. So I love Indian food. I get it in the States all the time, but it's a very basic, level of it. It's chicken tikka masala, which is pretty standard. But then we come over here, and I was talking to Trottie, and he said that apparently in Scotland, Indian food is a big deal. And it's like a hotbed of really good Indian food. So I said to him, we got to go somewhere, find a good spot. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then you came up to me one of the days, Trottie, and said, Friday night, I got a reservation for the whole crew. We're going. It's a great spot. It's like a 10-minute walk from the Russicks. And we went, and we had one of the better nights of my life, I would say.
Whoa.
I was so good because, and Trottie was texting me beforehand being like, do you want to take the lead? Do you want me to take the lead in terms of ordering for everyone? And I told him, I'm a very basic Indian food consumer. I want to broaden my horizons. I want you to take the lead. And boy, did you ever.
Well, here's the crack. I appreciate the tee up, but the bottom line is, lads, as great as this trip is, it's been 4 years since I've been to the UK, and I mean, it took me, I had sweat withdrawals from Indian food. It's different level in the UK. Glasgow, Birmingham is kind of where it all started. It's now branched out. It's everywhere. That particular Indian restaurant, like I told you, if there's water in the restaurant, a couple of goldfish kicking around, you know you're off to a winner. Obviously, we fired it up. I took the lead. I didn't really want to, but I needed to because it's been a long time. So actually that trip was very selfish. It was for myself. I'm glad that you guys got to experience it. I'm glad you got M&S, even though Lurch is shitting on it. It's still important to me. And I'm glad that you played Carnoustie. And hopefully you all tasted some Long Iron dirt. And that basically is, you've ticked the boxes now. We can all go home.
What are the go-tos? All right, Indian restaurant. Somebody walks
What's
in.
the name of that place, by the way, for anyone traveling?
Jet.
Do we know?
Jahala la la la.
Yeah, Jahala.
It was four words.
Jahala something.
I think
Archie's the main man. Archie took good care of us. And then I realised I was ordering with the governor. I thought I'd just picked up one of the lads.
Is
and he
the
was
governor
boss.
just the head, the GM?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
all the locals were coming in saying, oh, you've gone back to taking orders. And he's like, nah, the Trotmeister's in here. We got to sweep this up.
We also had like 17 people in there.
Yeah, we needed to get it
You
rolling.
did a great job, though. What were the two defining characteristics of an Indian food restaurant? Hot meal when they serve it, and a fish tank in the place.
Fish tank in the place, hot towel afterwards, remember? And you know, needless to say, just the comforts, the Cobra beer and the poppadoms. You've got to have strong chutney game to kick that thing off. And then everyone's in a good place, right? I mean, it's like
Very
starting
good
birdie at
place.
the first. I mean, everyone, unanimous that was.
What was the Indian, or not the Indian, the onion?
Onion bhaji. And
Onion bhaji.
we this was a big topic of controversy. I was disappointed. I mean, on the pizza reviews for you guys,
It had no depth to it.
and it's critical. But that pivots nicely to the following day, was it, when we were having lunch, or 2 days later?
Sure was.
Lurch and I hit the 1 Under bar. We were all heading up for the view. Girl sent us to the 1 Under bar. I guess we looked like 1 Under bar people. We went down
We
there.
went to the main restaurant, and she goes, I don't know if she took one look at us and didn't want us to be up there based on the way we looked.
The
But she
size
goes-
difference maybe put her off. She's like, why are you hanging out here?
She was like, you probably want the food from the 1 Under. And it was like, why don't you want us up here? But
Yep.
then we did look at the menu. We're like, that's more us.
Yeah,
And
she
so
had it.
anyways, we
We
went
watched
down
you and Ferguson play 6 holes at 5 over par. It was fantastic.
12 off the lead. It was the most worthless content we've ever seen on the Golf Channel.
But we had an onion bar. You had an onion bhaji burger, which I was like, Lurchy, if they've got this on the menu, this could be strong. And he liked it.
He did.
Solid
I
enough.
did. And he goes to the waitress. He goes, now is it or is it? And she was, and then Trottie was like, all right, the big man will have that one.
It was good.
It was delicious.
I didn't try it.
Yeah.
6 bites in, it was gone, and he was happy. So I was like, it's all
Surprised it took that many.
Yeah, it was maybe less.
Shocked, really. So we've played a lot of golf since then, since the last time we were on the show. I don't know if we want to save it mostly for the travel
We
series.
can talk about the courses we've been to.
Yeah.
So we played. Had we played Dundonald yet?
No.
I don't-
Yeah, we did that spin around, did we?
Yeah, we
not?
did the 9-hole thing there, but I
Maybe
don't
not.
think we did the 18 yet.
So Dundonald is relatively new,
10 years.
10 years.
10 years old.
No.
Hard, just a hard golf course, and that was a proper Scottish day that we actually got, where it was raining, it was windy, it was spitting, it was extremely difficult, and it was
It
just
was
an
awful
absolute
outside.
battle.
The back nine made me want to cry. It got really windy on the back nine. and
Sure did.
I didn't have as much fun
Only
as the
day
front.
that it was stereotypical Scottish weather, I thought, where it's like everything's whipping sideways and you're like, man, this is what people experience when they come over here. They say it's a grind. The golf is really hard. You can't even see straight. Contacts are flying out of your eyes. It feels like you need wipers in front of Trent's fucking glasses. You couldn't see anything at one point.
Yeah.
That was a tough day.
That was the hardest day for sure, golf-wise, weather-wise, the whole deal. And then afterwards, we get all peppered up and we go down and we have a whiskey tasting evening
Oh my
and
God.
dinner at Dundonald Links. We're in this special whiskey room with our guy Brendan, who is a whiskey connoisseur, master, lives
Whiskey
and breathes.
master.
The shit flows through his veins, this guy, and he was infectious with his passion for whiskey, taking us through the whole deal. I don't think any of us are huge whiskey guys. Is that correct?
Brendan McCarran, you almost have to follow this guy on Instagram. He's a master distiller. He was mind blowing.
Passion for
the
the
way he
brand.
described everything. He made you feel like you were drinking something really special, which we were. We were drinking Bonnahaben. Is that how you pronounce it? Bonnahaben was Bonnahaben
We're the
whiskey.
local. Fuck.
We had a 12-year-old, a 25-year-old, and then there was this barrel in the background that was specific for
Unique.
Dundonald. Unique, he kept calling it. Truly unique.
Americans don't know the term
He's
unique.
pissed off about
it's
the way we use
actually
unique.
unique because it's one of a kind. You can only get it there.
Only place you can drink this whiskey, this 37-year-old whiskey. I think it was fucking started in what, like
1980, I thought he said.
yeah. So it was about a 30-year whiskey.
Originally put in there in 1980 or whatever. But he was right. He was talking about unique, and he's like,
42.
we use unique almost
I
as
think
like
37 years. He said,
Okay.
yeah. There was a difference between like the still and the barreling of it or whatever.
And-
But he kept the part about the unique was hilarious because
Yeah.
he's like, you guys, if something's just amazing, you basically will call it unique.
Yeah.
He's like, no, unique means something unique actually.
This is literally the only place you can drink it, in this room. So yeah, he got us all jacked up. He also has maybe the best just impressionist I've ever heard in my entire life, doing all of these Austin Powers jokes, had us laughing our fucking asses off. Everyone in that room was great. We played that game.
Oh,
What was that game? There's this huge
He wanted a
table.
name. I think
All
he was
for all the
looking
ball.
for a name.
Yeah.
They have a huge, how long would you say that table was?
40 feet.
40-foot table.
sure.
And they take out 3 golf balls and they roll them down, and whoever
So
can
the
stop
table's
the ball.
slanted up maybe like a 16th of an inch, the most minuscule little difference between the front to the back of the table. And you basically just kind of all rotate while drinking as much as you physically can. And you take 3 balls, you roll them to the edge, and it's up to your discretion whether you want to roll 1 ball at a time or all 3. And basically you try to roll them to the edge without them starting to come backwards. And so whoever stops a ball closest to the end of the edge of the table wins. And it's a really tricky game with strategy and how you actually want to roll the balls, because maybe you roll 1, that's kind of your lead pony, and you roll 2 behind it to try to like slightly bump it so it kind of nestles on one of the dimples of the golf ball.
It was fun.
It's an epic drinking game.
I'd say that if you're making this trip with your buddies and you're trying to kind of emulate the way that we're doing it, we're going to all the stops and all the stuff, and Dundonald's one of your trips, one of your stops, I think you have to try and maybe book the whiskey tasting.
Yeah, I think you do.
Because
The room alone.
The room alone, the experience, if you can get Brendan to do it, like everything about that experience makes it such a fun, genuine Scottish night. Drinking, cheersing, playing games, making jokes. It was a lot of fun.
Makes
Also-
it unique, you could argue.
Makes it very unique. Yeah, you got to try that
Yeah,
whiskey.
that room is unique. Now we're
Also,
just-
the thing I've learned is, unfortunately, more expensive whiskey tastes better. That's an unfortunate fact.
Potentially. It's different to
Bro,
everybody.
yeah, it is. But like you
It's
can
like
just
Brendan
tell.
like loves the 12,
True.
you know?
Yeah.
And you got to
All right, so unfortunate for my palate,
Yes,
I
your
really
palate,
enjoyed like
true.
the $500
The 20,
bottle,
yes.
and I'm like, well, now I'm fucked because if I'm ever gonna drink whiskey now, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna
You
be
could just
poor.
go lick the floor where you dropped $300.
Yeah, I still we had to dip. I mean, I can't even
Copper
explain
tube.
that
It
one.
was some copper tube, and that was a legendary story.
Some
Yeah.
copper tube you got to drop into the barrel.
Old whiskey tasters and
Well,
testers.
what was the story behind it?
So basically, you lose a lot of it, don't you, through evaporation. So he was saying that the testers would walk round, and while they shouldn't be trying it, they would have a copper tube in their trousers on a chain. You'd walk up to the barrel, it's blind because it's at a decent height, and you drop the copper tube in, let it fall on its side, then bring it out, and then obviously pour it into the glass. And you went first, and it was a tricky one, wasn't it? Because you was holding the glass, and I'm like thinking, I gotta watch, because I knew I was going to go last. Does he go quick pour, or does he go little dribble? And you basically just all over the floor and then put the last drop in the glass. And the guy's passing out. He's like, whoa.
There's only 25% of this fucking whiskey in this barrel. It's 37 years old or whatever it is. He said that if he was to value the liquor in that barrel, it'd probably start at 7 figures.
Yeah. The barrel would start at
7 figures.
And he's lost most of it through evaporation.
He's lost most of it
And
through that,
Frankie.
and then
And
I
Frankie
just
on the
dropped.
floor.
I probably dropped $1,200 worth of whiskey on the floor.
TBD. You just don't even know.
Plus, once it started, it was you're dropping more.
Oh,
Like,
it was just like-
no.
It was on my hands. He's like, you're gonna have to look that up. I'm like, fuck. A lot of fun though. Dundonald was a good spot.
Dundonald's an awesome home base too because it's got unbelievable lodging,
Modern.
and very modern, just really nice. Good place to like come back and rest. Trent and I found a sauna and steam over there
We
for
did.
a little.
You guys popped the top.
Yeah.
Accommodation was mint, boys. A lot of space. We had a lot of space.
If you have a bunch of buddies or other guys are on a golf trip, you know, you have kind of these centralized greens. You can go out chip and have a beer at the end of the day to kind of just settle back in.
And then
good
the
spot.
other
Pretty
beauty
epic spot.
to proximity, you're great. You're 10-15 minute drive to Prestwick, which we talked about in the first show, and then you're a 3-minute drive from Western Gailes, which Western Gailes,
Yeah.
we had about half the crew made it. It was very last minute. We got a really early tee time. We had to go off
The
before
morning after
members.
the whiskey
Whiskey
tasting.
It was the morning after the
I
whiskey
did not make the
tasting.
tea time. I was shit faced.
So we
I
were.
woke
I
up
mean,
at
yeah,
6 and
we
I
were
thought I
in
got hit by a bulldozer.
we were in a
That
dark.
was-
We were in a dark place as a crew, but we made it. We had about 6 of us that jumped out there and played in the morning before we headed over to St Andrews. And Western Gailes is a members club, but anybody can get on. So if you go over as
Yeah.
tourists, you can call and book tea times. Highly, highly, highly recommend. One of the greater hidden gems that gets described as a hidden gems I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
Stunning views, really cool holes, massive dunes that kind of framed a lot of the greens, a few blind shots. It was just excellent. It was an excellent, excellent golf experience.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I've never seen anything like it where it's literally 2 holes wide. Leave the clubhouse, you go about 50 feet in front of you, and then you just aim right for 4 holes. That's just 1 hole off the coastline in terms of width. And then you get to 5T, and now you're just on the coastline from 5 to 14, I believe. And then 15 through 18 are like on that same parallel line as 1 through 4. So it's maybe the most unique golf experience you can have. I've never seen anything like it. The place is pure, some of the best holes in the world, honestly. So
Highly-
I recommend.
Highly recommend Western Gailes if you go over to the, what were we on there? The western side of the
Yeah, southwestern
Yeah.
side of Scotland. maybe?
southwestern side. And then we headed over to St Andrews. Before we get there, we're going to talk about Shopify, which is the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs, you could argue we're a little bit entrepreneurial, no big deal, the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Shopify offers online retailers a suite of services. It's one of our, you heard of that? A suite of services?
No, I enjoy Shopify.
We hadn't heard of
though.
that either.
I like Shopify.
Okay, good. I'm glad. A suite of services including payments, marketing, shipping, and customer engagement tools. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage your day-to-day. Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payment methods. If you feel like that's important, if you want to get paid, go to shopify.com/Fore, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/Fore right now. That is shopify.com/Fore. So then we jumped on this bus right here with our guy Craig. Shout out to Craig. Who's been
Shout out
driving
to
us around.
Craig.
Shout out to Craig.
He's drinking Iron Brew right now. That's something that you've all sipped, have you, since you've been here?
Oh.
No.
Jesus Christ. I've been talking about Iron Brew since we got it. If
I
you-
think you tried it. It was in the lodge.
talking about a lot of
at
stuff.
Dundonald.
Is it the
And you-
orange?
You said
Shut
it
the
tastes like
fuck up.
cough syrup.
Oh.
It's a soda out here.
Yeah, the orange soda.
Ugh.
Big Scottish thing. I mean, look, I haven't tried it since I've been here, but you lads have to.
I have.
Good lad, you're on it.
Lurch hates everything over here. It seems
No.
like.
I like the chocolate milk, and I like a lot of things. Just the food. It sounds
The
great.
dairy intolerant man loves the chocolate milk,
So it is.
but
good.
hates M&S.
That was a 10 out of 10. M&S, it's just, I think there's better gummies. I was gummy heavy, I will say, at M&S, and I think there's better gummy bears in the States. And then I had maybe a leftover piece of whatever Frankie had, or another thing of it.
You went peanut stuff.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, the American
Actually,
guys
never
are
opened it.
good.
Oh,
Where they
I
go
had
then? I'm
something else that
starving
was
right
like
now.
a
I can
chocolate
smash them
fucking-
right
And I
now.
was like, it's okay.
Oh my gosh.
So we get
With the
to
Cadbury.
St Andrews.
Nice.
I had been there before. Lurch had been there before. Trottie had been there before. Your guys' first time ever seeing in real life St Andrews, the town of St Andrews, the golf course, the 18th and the first hole right there. What was first impressions walking on site?
It's very cool, and we got very lucky to stay at the Russix. Is that how you're gonna?
Some people say Rusacks.
Rusacks, I think, because some Scottish guy called it Rusacks.
Rusacks?
Yeah, which is weird. That seems like an American way to say
Yeah, it
Russacks.
seems too much.
Let's just stick with Russacks.
Russix.
I like Russix. We were very lucky to stay there, right on the 18th, right on the first hole. Frankie and I talked a lot about when we walked to dinner that night when we had Indian food, just the architecture, how it's just so cool, and how places in the States and all over the world try to emulate it and make it look like the way St. Andrews actually is. And I just really like that old architecture. I've talked a lot about, or during like one of the confessionals for the travel series, how I like old stuff. I don't necessarily love modern architecture. Something about it makes me uncomfortable. Old Victorian, old Scottish type of architecture I really, really like. So I really love staying at the Russix, just walking around the town on my way to Starbucks. You get to see all these cool buildings and this cool architecture. So I'm just blown away by the whole thing. And that's not even getting into the golf course. We walked the golf course a little bit with Tiger and JT during a practice round. It's awesome. The whole place is awesome. It's a very small town feel. It's a very old feel. And I love that.
Yeah, it sends shivers down your spine, honestly, right when you drive in. Same feeling I got when I got to Augusta, where you're like, this place can't be real. I can't possibly be here. Like, it's a sense of like, how lucky are we to be like rolling into this town right now. You walk around the streets, the cobblestone streets, all the locals are drinking at 2:00 in the afternoon. Everyone seems like they're in a good mood. People are walking across like the village square. At one point, me and Trent were finding ourselves like walking down little alleyways and looking at all the little courtyards that people live in, and like there was like, do not walk into this courtyard, and we were like a little nervous, like looking around, seeing like the way the locals live. It's just an amazing place. I'm a dumb American, so when I just watch what Hollywood shows me, I just become a big fan, like Harry Potter. So I'm walking around I look right at Trottie.
That had to get brought up.
You know, you watch it and you see like a town that in Harry Potter, like Hogsmeade, right? And you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to Harry Potter World in fucking Orlando. And you're like, this place looks amazing. Look at it. Look at all the little buildings. Then you walk around a town like St. Andrews, and that's just what they emulate.
It's very clear where the inspiration came from.
But it's fucking nuts to actually be there. And like, and I said at one point to Trent, like, can you imagine that people built these fucking houses in like the 1700s, and they're just still living in them today? Like, we talk, and later on in the show,
Probably
you're going to hear different people. Yeah. But
Maybe,
how cool is it that and there might be witches there?
Now we're really talking about
More
Harry
sheep
Potter.
out there, boys.
It's just really cool that like they just moved here, settled here, and now we're still doing the damn thing in this town. It's just a very cool, just historic feeling.
Well, you're going to hear in the interview coming up that like old Tom Morris's house is still there, and there's just
a bunch of college kids in there
living in it, and they don't even know that they're living in it.
No,
they have no idea, which is insane.
They won't even put a sign up saying this is Tom Morris's house. It's nuts. Trottie, what's your belief, or what's your feelings on St. Andrews? How do you feel coming back?
I think the
here?
reason the town feels such a great vibe, and you're hitting on it now, is because it's a college town. At the end of the day, St. Andrews is an amazing university across the UK, like proper. It's in the top 3. Scotland is great for education. St. Andrews is a golf town, but the reason the vibe feels so good is because you've got all these kids going around, like kids, 17 to 22, going around studying, partying when they're obviously in term, and they're of a high academic quality. So it has a nice feel. Kids that are trying to get it done and find the next step in life, and then you have all these tourists come in, play golf there, a golf course that literally, and you haven't quite touched it, it's in the town. You put out in the town.
Right.
You play 17 down the side of the Jigger Inn, the pub there, and the hotel. I mean, you're right in there. The whole town is about golf. That's what's pretty cool. You see people walking around every little turning with golf equipment. You go into the secondhand stores, there's some legendary stuff in there. Then you got all the new stealth and whatnot in the main stores. It's pretty pimped.
That's a really good point, that it's really old and ancient and historic, yet constantly vibrant, because it's got a new crop every year.
And that's what makes it different for me to a Pebble, to a Pinehurst. It has a feel like that, that's legendary, but then it has this people that might not even be there for golf.
Right. That's a really good point. Yeah, and the playing those 3 holes, 1, 17, 18, it's been described, people have seen it. You cannot really understand it until you're there, like you said, of how you are in a town. How often do you play golf in a town? Let alone where that town is as cool as we're describing it now. Right. Let alone where it's every 5 years they have the Open Championship for the last 150 years. it's insanely cool that all these things come together in the same place. And then we got to watch Tiger. We got the kilts, and we were on the Swilcan Bridge. We went to the Indian joint, and then Adam Scott was there. And then afterwards, him and Frankie took maybe the most amazing photograph I've ever
Pretty
seen
funny.
in my life.
It's nuts.
Confluence of events that led
I was
to this.
walking down the fairway. We just got back from wherever the fuck we got back from. Was it the Indian night?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause he was at the
he was there.
restaurant.
Oh yeah, Adam Scott was in the Indian restaurant, which that's how you know that he took us to a good spot, Trottie, because all the players are going there right when they get
And they're there all the time. They've eaten in all of them, just like I have. So
we leave there.
all roads
everyone's-
lead to this, Frankie.
That's right. All roads do lead to this. I'm walking down the
Everything has led
18th
to this.
green and the fairway, and I'm FaceTiming my dad, just showing him around the town. He can't believe it's a real place. He feels like I'm in a green screen, he said. And I'm like just showing him I'm running up to the 18th green. You can literally just walk wherever you want as long as you don't walk on the green. I'm like, oh, let me show you the bridge. I walk back to the bridge, and then as I'm walking back towards the bridge, Adam Scott and this guy go, like out for a stroll, Frankie, and I look, I'm like, oh, that's Adam Scott, Dad. Like, and I kind of like showed him, and he's like, what's up? So then I go to the 17th, I show him the bunker, and I walk back towards the bridge, and Scott is just kind of standing there by the bridge, and some lady asks him like for a picture. He goes, yeah, no problem. He was taking photos of the sunset. The sunsets out here, by the way, are insane. I don't know what's going on with the sky.
And they're long. They're like
long.
2.5 hours long.
Because the sun never sets.
So she
Right.
takes a photo
Sun's
with
down for
him.
an hour.
And he's up there, and he kind of just stands on the bridge. I'm like, can I just come up there? He's like, yup. And we take this photo with the most outrageous sunset in the background. It looks like a prom picture. Yeah, it's just, I sent it to the group without you guys even knowing I was on the golf course. I'm like, look who I just met. And you guys are like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah. It was shocking. It came across the wire. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where
Adam
is
Scott, really nice guy.
I'm not sure there's a bad Australian though. I mean, I've never.
No.
I'm struggling to meet a bad Australian guy.
Greg Norman's in the heat these days.
Granted, exclude him. He lives in America. After him,
Not allowed to
He's
come
more
to the tournament.
American these days.
He lives in
He
America.
screwed up when he moved to America.
It all
Yeah.
has to do with the accents, man.
Your guy Kyrgios is kind of a crazy person.
He's a little loose cannon, but I mean,
I like him.
he's got a more interesting
won, by the
story.
way?
Djokovic.
Okay.
Kyrgios won the first set, and then anyway, I mean, Joker's got an incredible game, best returner in maybe the tennis history, and it was going to be tough for Kyrgios. He would have had to roll on a serve, but then Kyrgios started to lose his mind a little bit, and he was starting to ask for
That's
this.
unusual.
Yeah, he was starting to ask for this girl to get kicked out. He was like, kick the girl out. She's wearing the dress up there, you know? And he's kind of like rambling on. He doesn't know how to explain her. And he's like, she's the one who looks like she's had 700 drinks up there.
Yeah, it was a funny
And it's
clip.
a great clip out there online.
Why do the same 5 guys win the big tennis tournaments?
Because it's just, it's a mano a mano. It's not like Kisner, if he was playing in versus DJ and they were hitting drives at one another, like DJ's just going to win that match. So
And
it's-
these guys are just that much better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's
and
the,
it's-
who's the
My
goat
whole
in your
life,
mind?
my whole life,
Nadal.
the same. My whole life, the same 5 guys, 4 guys have won every major tennis tournament.
and so,
Djokovic,
Right.
Nadal,
Federer.
Stats
Federer.
actually back that up. It's insane.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's just accurate.
And
It's
like,
fact.
why are they still like? Aren't they old now? Why are they still winning?
Nadal's just got the heart of a champion. Just can't touch the man. I mean, he's
King of
just,
clay.
He's just, yeah, he's a beast. You can't get a ball by him.
Is Djokovic going to go down as the best tennis player of all time?
He could, he very well
He's
could.
got the most majors, right? Now?
I think so. Now, is it now? Is
Might
that
have
solidified or is he
22 or
tied?
something.
Yeah,
You a tennis fan, Trottie?
yeah, enough.
yeah.
But I'll be honest, I got a little bored of it when it's just the same 5 guys dominating, and I kind of missed my.
It was like
Andre
Andy Murray was
Agassi
in there for a little bit.
days.
Right. No, I mean the
Well,
first.
It's Agassi, he was great.
It was a personality, and like I look at these boys, they're a little bit like robots. And then Murray comes along, broke into it for a little while, but poor bloke gets injured a lot, and it's just like I want to see a bit of
COD2, he was
personality.
obsessed with video games, I think.
Yeah,
Andy
I
Murray.
want to see a bit of charisma, you know.
Yeah,
That is Kyrgios is interesting. At the
Kyrgios
least.
is super interesting. I think, it's just. I mean, there's so many just shots back and forth that I think, if there's a little bit of
There's
difference
almost
in
no
skill level,
randomness, no
Right.
randomization to it.
right? Because you just play forehand after forehand back one another. There's so many of those shots that if you're just slightly better over a 5-hour match where you're hitting, I don't know, 1,000 balls each, 5,000 balls each, it's like that just comes out in the long term. A 5-set match, it's just so hard to win. If it was 2 out of 3, you'd see more upsets. 3 out of 5, it's just too much for someone to take it
It's
off.
almost why I think, too, certain team sports have similar characteristics where, like in hockey, it's a little more random. Because
Yeah.
one deflection can change the entire game.
Totally.
Whereas in football, you kind of run your offense against their defense dozens of times, and if yours is just better,
Right.
you're going to win more often, and it's
Right.
less random. There's turnovers, obviously. It's not
With
the same.
it.
Who's
But-
the young kid? Who's the young, like, 20-year-old? Who I always see Barstool Hubs tweeting about.
Oh, the kid at Alcaraz, the
Yeah.
Spanish kid. Yeah,
Alcatraz?
he lost to a guy named Sinner, who's a
prison?
good young Italian.
Okay.
So there's a lot. There's a couple good, like the Americans, have a couple good guys. Brooksby, I think Fritz. I'm a huge Opelka guy.
Why is American tennis? What happened? Where did everyone go?
I mean, we landed a dud with so Roddick was kind of interesting. I'm not a huge Isner guy. He's just a 6'10" boy that has an unbelievable serve, but doesn't have a lot of personality there.
Marty
we just
Fish.
kind of faded
I like
away. Fish was
Miss him.
he was in the Roddick era.
Friend of the show?
Very much. We just lost that personality, and it was these three guys were. Federer was probably the prettiest tennis player anybody's ever seen. McEnroe's got a full stiff on anytime that guy just shows up in any sort of public
Fed felt like
appearance.
he was he had the rest. He was like the puppet master on the court, where he would just kind of
Legend.
stand there and just
Totally, and he was. He had all the shots: backhand, slice, topspin. With his backhand, he could roll it anywhere. But he had just one of the best. He's probably got the best feet, best forehand, and maybe best serve, of all time. But then Nadal, that was when it was exciting because he was so elite. Nadal and Joker were these guys taking a little bit from him. Nadal had that epic upset at Wimbledon. You're like, oh, this is exciting. But now it's just been these guys that have really dominated.
Wimbledon or Wimbledon?
Say again?
Wimbledon or Wimbledon?
Sounded like a T.
Why are you putting the
probably.
T in there?
Wimbledon.
Did you say Wimbledon?
Yeah.
Few people do that, though. He's not the only
What the
one.
hell?
Oh, please.
What the
You're
hell?
gonna get all uppity on me.
You're not a huge enunciation guy
No.
in general.
That's why I'm good with Musselburgh. You just kind of fade away.
Yeah, just go through
You
it.
just,
No.
you just drop out
The old
about halfway
mumble.
through. Exactly.
Like when you're trying to sing a song and you
That's
know
why
you
I'm
don't really
Scottish.
know the lyrics.
Yeah, I'm huge on that.
We got to talk real quick about one of our most important partners, I would say, which is BetterHelp. How well would you take care of your car if you had to keep the same one your entire life? Great question.
You'd have to get it checked up a lot, honestly, especially as the miles keep getting on there. Things start falling apart. You got to just keep checking on
If it
it.
was the only one you could ever have,
Yeah.
ever, and if it went to shite, it was over.
Crazy maintenance.
You'd probably be pretty focused on that. You'd probably do a lot of good maintenance. That's how our brains work, ladies and gentlemen. It's the only one you got, so why don't we treat them that way? It's very, very important for us to, obviously, keep our minds in a good place so that whenever you do get to have awesome experiences, go to Scotland, you want to be able to fully enjoy it. And you want to keep yourself in a healthy mental state at all times. It's probably the most important thing in your entire life. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat only therapy sessions, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you do not want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. BetterHelp's been incredibly important for us. There's stresses in everybody's life, from work to relationships, family, travel, whatever it may be. And BetterHelp has helped all of us get to a much better place. So again, we can try to enjoy the beauties of life as much as possible and also persevere through the tough times. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/4. That is betterhelp.com/4, betterhelp.com/4. And then the next part of our trip, we hit up Crail Golfing Society. I believe it's the 7th or 8th oldest golf course in the world. Little footnote that they have been calling it Crail Golfing Society since, I think, 1786.
Thoughts on the word golfing?
I'm not into it, but I like Crail. I just call it Crail. I mean, the golfing society is just, you're just playing on it for the tourism, right? Aren't you at this point?
Think so?
Maybe.
The
But-
term golfing, does it
Golfing,
drive you crazy, though? I went
No,
golfing
no,
today.
no.
You see all these old fucking
No,
Jeff
no, no,
Shacklefords
no,
of the
no.
world?
I'm fine with that. That's what I mean. It's like a nothing or a nothing for me. I went golfing.
Who cares?
Cool. Yeah. But what I do want to bring up here now, as a club guy and having gone through a fitting with rigs a while ago,
Yep.
I've noticed on this trip, extreme lack of driver.
Yep.
Like, there's a problem. We have to figure that out. I'm holding myself accountable for that. I'll hold my hands up right now. I think we have an off-season plan that's forming. If not, we're forming it right now. That needs to be solved.
Yeah, so
Because Crail Golfing Society, I can sense hurt you like left to right, horrific wind on the first, completely towards the ocean. Up here they call it the sea, but we'll go with ocean for the American listeners. And I was panicking for you, not sure of how you were feeling it. And then it was, let's not give it away, but I was upset about what I saw.
I think everybody was. It was hard to watch.
I was.
So, yeah, I've had the driver Yips basically for the last several weeks, it felt like. And the other thing is that for whatever reason, with my driver swing in general, I just hit the ball high and spinny and it doesn't travel. And the 3-wood that I have, the Stealth Plus, which is fantastic. It's turned down a little bit. It's 13.5. It was fitted properly for me. And the way that my swing, they all were, but I'm saying like properly for me.
Well, we're talking to the lead fitters.
And the way,
I did it.
The way that my swing, and you also have to recall that but I'll bring up to you perhaps for the first time, is that about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I got a swing lesson. So I would imagine things are a little bit different
So what did they
than
say?
they were a year and a half
Tell me
ago.
what the overview of your
Well,
lesson was.
I'll get to that. But what I want to get to first is that my 3-wood.
I have no patience, right?
I know.
You figure it out in restaurants.
You're going to have to right now.
Trottie has no
he's
patience in
tracking
restaurants, but
people
it's
down.
also the greatest thing to ever have happen to your group.
On your side. You want him
Oh
on your
my
team.
gosh. You should have seen him work his magic yesterday at fucking
Dominates
Carnoustie.
restaurants.
We'll get to that.
Wow. So I
Masterclass.
My 3-wood, which is turned down 13.5 degree, it comes off significantly better, which you even commented on, that honestly a good 3-wood for me, especially in this Scottish wind and with the turf, a good 3-wood for me out here with everything that's going on will likely go just as far as a good driver for me. And I hit it generally straighter and in play, and I've been hitting it really well, so I came in with a lot of confidence with it. So I said, screw it, I'm just going to go with it
It's excellent.
and keep it in play and not even pull the driver out. I think 2 or 3 times I did pull the driver out. Probably 3 out of 4 of them were horrific. And so I just kept it in play. Currently, we've had some great matches, and it's allowed me to stay in play and properly fade. But I do agree with you that in the long term, I need to figure out a driver strategy where I can shoot. And I need to get back. We've been on the road so much. We haven't really had much range time. Even on these trips, we just don't have much range time. It's like a quick warm up, whatever. Whereas if you're going through something with zero confidence with a driver and a new swing lesson and all this, you want to go to the range for a while and actually be able to try to groove through it and like get comfortable with it. Every swing I take, I'm thinking about a couple new things I'm trying to work on, which not that we don't do that a lot, but point being, I just kept the driver in the bag. And then in terms of the swing lesson, my guy, John Costas out in Scottsdale, worked with me for just an hour, and it was within a few minutes where it was basically, I feel like I'm bringing my hands back closer to my right hip. So keep those and then hinge earlier. And at the point of the club being parallel to the ground, I should have the club face, obviously trying to get it more open because I played pretty close, but keep the club face essentially in front of my hands or with them, and then hinge it up instead of back behind me. That allows me to get the club up in the air. I feel like I'm kind of doing a JT and hinging it up in the air more, and that gives me more room to kind of drop it in, feel like I'm going to hit it from the inside. And when I do that properly, I was picking up significant distance. My 9-iron went from like a 141 or 142 carry to like 153. My ball speed picked up like 8 or 9 miles an hour, and it was going straighter. And so when I can groove that and feel good with that, I was hitting the ball much better.
So here's the thing why I just want to stick on this for a minute, because obviously I'm a club guy. I hate seeing people struggle, especially I've worked with them before, and it's like the My TaylorMade Plus thing that Lurcher's seeing from this, gaining significant yardage off the tee, strokes gained off the tee due to distance.
It, problem with the driver. Right?
All comes back, Carnoustie, it all comes back to CG location, ball, and in relation to how you're delivering that club. And the reason you hit the 3-wood so great is because you're trapping it out and you're squeezing it out. Driver's a different deal. You've got to peg that thing up. You're going to get where you need to be for your boy JT, get it a little bit shallow, and then full Sensman high launch. That's very tough for you to do. Then when you lose the confidence, you're bringing it left and right misses. But it can be solved. There are things that you can do. Believe it or not, when Martin Keimer was world number 1, he would be steep on it. He would launch it very low, like almost under 10 degrees, and he would spin it very high. They're the traits as to what Riggs has right now. But Keimer would play with butter cuts. That's what he did. Now, when he came over to TaylorMade, I was in Madrid when I did that driver for him. It was an R9 Super Tri. Big corporate play. America didn't want some kid from Liverpool screwing around with that. And I was like, you know what? He's using a very firm tip golf shaft. He needs a softer tip golf shaft. Riggs, you can learn from this. This is where you need to be, and anyone else out there who struggles with driver, get a softer tip. Still like low on the torque, which is the twist, but softer tip. It helps you with the launch. We then put a little bit of weight in the heel of that golf club, whipped it together in Madrid on the Mizuno truck because our truck wasn't even there, and went out to him and I was like, hey Martin, Chris Trott from TaylorMade, there's some things I'm not liking here. I think I can help you. Thinking this could go, I could be out at TaylorMade.
2 ways,
I mean, you're done.
Promotion or fired, right here.
All roads lead to this, Frankie. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So I'm like, right, dude. I went a little bit shorter on the length. It was old ruler. They changed the USGA ruler. I think I went like 1/4 inch shorter. Again, lesson for you. Let's go a little bit shorter. You like your 3-wood? With baby steps here. You've got a good connection at TaylorMade. You know the right people. He doesn't need to go excessively long and panic about it. Let's just go a little shorter and we'll work back up. Tee height, he went mid-tee, and then he just started hitting these little butter cuts, but they weren't cutting as much because of the way I'd set the face angle and the weight in the heel. Before you know it, he goes off, walks into the sunset, 24 years old, wins the USPGA Championships, puts Trottie on the map for the old club fitting. I mean,
Woo! Is that the story, really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. I think we almost skipped over that. I almost like to hear more.
But that's what we need to do because all roads lead to this for Riggs.
Yeah.
And because of that experience, I now know you can't just continue just hitting 3-wood. I know you hit 3-wood great. You're a master 3-woodsman.
Thank you.
But we need high launch, even if it's got to be a cut. We got to get that thing controlled, and we got to work with what we got and gain you some yardage because it's going to help on the stats.
Couldn't agree more. And then we'll get there, but I just thought out on the trip wouldn't be the right time to try to find it when it's fucking blowing. So I was like, I got a confident shot, which I appreciate because we haven't even really talked about it till now. Trip's basically over because we got hickories coming up. Anything could happen at that point. But yeah, I mean, the TaylorMade Stealth Plus 3-wood that I have has been just so excellent. I can move some out there, and especially with this turf that it's been great. I got that 2-iron, which is the UDI that I hit as well. So I figured with those two,
same characteristics, trappy, hit great 2-irons,
and it can run, and it'll
big
even if I hit it a little clanky, it'll still chase out there a little bit, which is fantastic. So that's kind of what I've been going with. But P770s I've been rocking for a year and a half now. I hit them high. I hit them with a little cut. I've been hitting those extremely well, which I love.
Because you add spin, those irons don't give loads of spin. So you individually, the way you swing it, add the spin. The iron works for you because it's knocking the spin off. You come like somewhere like this. Your delivery patterns are going to make you great iron players, great long iron players, and great 3-wood player. And it's everything we've seen. Where you're going to struggle, left to right breeze, get the big dog out, and that's stressful.
Yep.
Which brings us back to Crail, which I thought, beautiful golf course, to be fair. I played it before. I played it in the winter when it was wet and cold.
You had us nervous going in.
Yeah, I was not pumped.
Yeah.
And then I played sort of 11 holes, and I had to cross. We passed probably several times. I'm like, boys, I got this wrong. This is a good track.
Some of those holes where you have to drive the ball just over the turn, where the sea just comes
First
right
5
up.
holes are pretty nuts.
They're insanely beautiful.
They're golf shots that you've never really had to hit before, and they're so much fun. And you had all this pressure on the right and not much room on the left.
But you don't think there's a lesson there, Frankie? So all these golf courses are made. What did the geezer who made them just miss left? Like, do you not think these hickories are going to go left? That's what has to happen, right? Surely. We're going to be hitting a bunch of snap hooks today, is what I think.
I hit the ball left already. So
why are they making a golf course? St Andrews is the same.
All these old courses we're playing, you can miss way left. That's a good point.
That's so
So
true.
now we're going to use their old clubs. They clearly go left.
I TaylorMade Plus. This is going to be your wheelhouse today.
Yeah.
Unless for the lefty though, you're going to miss right. Then you're royally screwed because the golf course is going to suit us.
Unless I just fade it out there, or you don't think he can. with these
That's what I'm
clubs.
saying. I think they're going to be hook machines.
Oh man.
How many clubs are we breaking today?
From what I've heard, you have to like turn the rhythm on a little bit from the top. So for me and Riggs, because I actually have some of the similar characteristics of his golf swing, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
We're going to have to really wait at the top, otherwise
Big
we're just
time.
going to be like snappy. It's going to be bad. Me and him might be in for a tough day. You, I don't know, because I mean you're coming in, you're different. You got it like that, and you hold it like an axe murderer, and you hit this terrain. It's like, I mean, it's strong, but it's killing people. So I don't know.
You hold it like an axe murder. I mean, come on, coach. Help me out there if I hold it like an axe murder. I want to be delicate out there.
I'll be rooting for you, but yeah, you might need the touch of a mason. Might not be what we need today.
And then our last track that we experienced was Carnoustie.
No, we went to
Oh,
Dumbarnie.
Sorry, I
Dumbarnie.
forgot
This
about
place is
Dumbarnie.
unbelievable.
Dumbarnie.
Dumbarnie, I think, if you put that in the United States, is like a top 3 golf destination you could possibly go
It's
to.
beautiful.
Spectacular.
It's like Chambers Bay, Whistling Straits with the fucking water in the background and
I
oil.
put a lot of
rig.
TLC into that place,
God
for sure.
damn, is that place beautiful.
It was stunning.
Absolutely beautiful.
We had a sunny afternoon, very minimal wind for Scotland.
One side you see the Renaissance,
Yep.
and then the other side you see like rolling farmland hills that I put up a picture of the background, and people just didn't believe it was real. It's like a you can't believe this place is a real golf course.
It's new. It's only 2 years old. 2020, Dumbarnie opened, and they took kind of the modern abilities, technology capabilities to build this spectacular spot on a old Scottish coastal kind of near links property, and it's visually spectacular. We kept saying it kind of reminded us of Whistling Straits meets Bandon and Cabot, and it was
Bayonne,
a little bit of everything.
nuts.
Bayonne, giant rolling dunes and mounds, and then all set where every hole has a view of the sea, and there was this massive oil rig out there.
Aquaman. Kevin Costner's on there. That's what that was.
So that was actually kind of framed everything too, where it was like this massive man-made structure that you can't believe is out there among all this natural beauty. It was breathtaking. The entire thing was breathtaking.
Beautiful.
So we had a knockdown drag-out match there, which I think from the drone and all that, it's probably going to be the most spectacular.
For sure.
It was...
The views there were nuts.
It was off the charts. The clubhouse overlooking the sea. The sun was just glistening off it. We played late in the afternoon, around 3 or so. So we had kind of the sun was setting as we were finishing up and playing. And it was visually off the
They had a
charts.
good sticky toffee pudding in the clubhouse.
Food was good.
At the
Food was
restaurant.
very good.
It was.
Food was amazing.
Another very new place.
We got him shifting. The service was
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
These guys had never experienced chicken fried steak before.
Which is bizarre.
Still
to me.
haven't.
That seems like a very popular thing in
You
the
guys never
States.
even heard of it, right?
No.
These
No.
East Coast elites, they just
Yeah,
don't
that's
eat.
what it is.
They don't fry everything.
It's elitism. It's tough.
It is.
Don't need
You
to fry
just gotta.
steaks.
You have to fry everything. It's like
I'm
you know
right
what's
there
good?
with you. I've just never
You know
had
what's
it.
good? Steak. You know what's good? Deep frying everything. Let's combine them, and they
Great.
put a gravy on it.
Little
I
mashed
enjoyed it.
potatoes.
I enjoyed my steak right next to you. My
Deep
regular
fry
one.
it though.
No.
I had the fish and chips that were lovely.
Deep fried.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
It was. Chill out.
Think about that as a steak.
I mean, that's what they're known for. It's world class up here to have the beef batter chips and fish and chips.
But again, we've only done the fish and chips in the nice places. Like we haven't done the down and dirty, eat it out the bag fish and chips. Like to be fair, boys, we might have to do this on this
Jimmy
little-
Fairboys.
On this stop here, I might actually go and get me some real fish and chips.
Well, I'm with you. I'll
In
do
the
it.
paper
Bottom
bag.
of the barrel fucking fish and chips.
You get them, yeah, but that's real fish and chips. And then I want to hear what your view is of country club fish and chips versus the people fish and chips. A bit like Greg's the Bakers.
We could do that. And then we got to get to Carnoustie first. I have to say, don't have my bag yet. Full
insane.
week.
That is amazing.
Full weekend. And British Airways, who fucking suck, have absolutely no clue where it is.
That's
Just
insane.
no
I
real
love that.
update.
My son lost his bag as well. He's like 10, 11 days, 12 days.
It's
Same
just,
deal.
it doesn't make any sense. I don't get how you can't track it
I
down.
love
You just
they have
scan a
no
tag.
idea.
Just has a tag. You scan the tag. That goes into the system. The system tells you where it is. They can't seem to figure that out a whole week in now. But the beauty of it is, I love my Tommy John underwear so much. I have to have them so much that in my carry-on, I had all of my Tommy John underwear.
It's huge.
So I sit here before you quite
Really?
comfortable because my private area down there has been cozy, comfy, fresh, and clean. And Tommy John underwear the entire time. Tommy John's Apollo underwear has ultra breathable technology, keeps your skin up to 7 degrees cooler than regular cotton. We've had hot days. We talked about that.
It's a lesson too when you're traveling to keep the essentials in a carry-on because it's eye-opening for me that I need to start doing like underwear, t-shirts, and like all of your nighttime stuff just in your carry-on just in case.
What's
I
your
pack-
nighttime stuff?
What's your
Little
nighttime
lotion
stuff?
there, buddy.
Well, you know, like I was just thinking like my contact solution, my toothpaste, like all that.
But
like,
you can't.
I call it-
Sometimes they bang you for it.
They
They
gotta
throw
have-
it away.
you gotta
I
have
call
the
it a
little
ditty
one.
bag. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I call
ditty
it.
bag.
I call it dop
Call it a
kit.
what?
No, ditty
Dop
bag.
kit.
I call it a
Dop
ditty
kit.
bag.
Top kit.
Dop kit or ditty bag.
Yeah.
I've never heard these phrases. What is this?
It's like
Dog-
the little fucking
It's a toiletry
little
bag.
toiletry
Okay.
bag. Yeah.
And he
Where are
called
you
it-
getting those names from? Then?
Ditty bag. I don't know. I've
My
always
dad
just
always
called
called it a dop kit.
I've
Yeah,
called
we
it a
call it
ditty
dop
bag.
kit, too.
Yeah.
I
Dop
don't
kit.
know. Maybe it's Midwestern.
Ditty bag.
Well,
Like
maybe
Dobby,
you wanna-
like from Higher Potter.
What do you call the like? You put all your.
Toiletry bag.
Oh, okay.
Dap kit.
You
I
guys
get
are very-
attached. I've got a toiletry bag I've had for years.
Yeah.
It's just like it's knackered.
I look
It's
at
one
the-
of those things. It's a tough thing to change toiletry.
I got-
I actually agree with you. I look at that thing and I think to myself, that thing's been all over the world with me.
Wow.
It's been all over.
I'm in the same boat.
I
The
got
Dop
one.
kit acquired its name from a German leather goods maker named Charles Doppler.
Okay.
You did a good job. Nailed
Did
that.
a good job
good
and basically
marketing.
invented the toiletry case.
I bought one when we were down in the Bahamas.
Where
It's
did
like
he
this
come
cool teal one. I'll probably never see it again, but it's great. Shop TommyJohn.com/4 right now for 20% off your first order. The entire point of this is that I've had my Tommy Johns with me the whole time. I still have a handful of pair clean because I have so many, because I like them so much that I have to have them. That's right. Get 20% off right now at TommyJohn.com/4. That's TommyJohn.com/4. See site for details. TommyJohn.com/4. 20% off. Okay. Carnoustie was our last stop.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see a little bit beforehand. We got to see a one Eldrick, Tiger Woods, and Justin Thomas play a little practice round. We watched them play the first 4 or 5 holes. I think all the media reports that a lot of people are seeing is what we saw, which is that Tiger's golf game looked pretty good. Tiger looked like he was a little, I don't know if it was under the weather. I don't know if it was just trying to conserve energy. I don't know what it was. He didn't look like he was overly chit-chatty with anyone. He was kind of just going through the process, head down for the most part. And so we didn't want to be bothersome. I watched him this morning. I'm live from the range on the Sky Sports Network because we're in the UK. They do a great job. And they also just gargle Rory McIlroy's balls the whole time, which I don't mind. I love Rory McIlroy. But they're doing a little Tiger live from on the coverage and then going through his first couple holes, and he looked much better out there. He looked a little more spry.
It's good.
Hitting the ball great. On the range, he was piping his driver, a little baby cut, hitting it like flying at 285, 290, and then they were like, ooh, these guys are really, I could tell they know, because when he would step on one, they could tell, and they would call it, and they'd be like, that one might get out near 300. It would carry like 301. So he was moving it out
They
there
had the
pretty
tracker
good.
on the right-hand side, which was really nice
So
to see
cool.
as they were hitting balls. Like,
Trottie, you've obviously, you understand clubs and fitting and carry and all that. From any of the stats, anything you've looked at from Tiger, what do you think?
I love it, and I'm trying not to get sucked into the media stuff, because you're right, Sky Sports boys do a good job. They're all ex-players, and they know what they're looking at. They're good. A lot of them have won on tour who call that stuff, and they're good. Euros, obviously, so they know what to look for in these conditions, but I think he's looking great. I think that you've sensed on this trip the putting and the greens. It just doesn't break much. Like Carnoustie was a good sign of that. You don't get much break, and they don't run really quick because of the wind. So if he can get the feel, I think he's a great shout. We all know ball flight control, these greens, when you've got to hit it into quadrants, he can do all of that jazz. Holding it up against the wind, turning it into the breeze, he's got every shot. I think he's a good shout. And then Rory, I think he's also another good shout, just because he can overpower this place. I think the mojo of majors, he's creating that, and the media creates it, but he's a fan favourite when you're on the British shores for sure.
yeah, we gargle Tiger's balls, you gargle Rory's. It's kind of the way it goes.
I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
Any Scottish golfers on tour?
Bobby Mack, the
Oh,
lefty.
yeah.
Your guy.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
doppelganger.
lovely guy.
No facial features.
Lovely guy, good player, and look, that could sneak you up there, because look, again, like we're hitting shots out here, and I'm just getting a feel for it now, and the trip's coming to an end, but you're running out 25, 30 yards. I mean, Carnoustie had that real grit. I was hitting 9-irons that were landing 145, running to 175, 180. You need that. Bobby Mack's got that in the back pocket. He's played it his whole life, so I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks up there into the top 10. Great one for anyone looking to.
So you're gonna have a nice hometown feel, like a crowd, you think?
Oh, he will for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Very
Galleries
passionate.
following him and stuff?
Definitely, 100%.
Wow.
Mate, they love
That's
it up
exciting.
here.
Yeah.
It's
for
amazing
sure.
there's not more Scottish golfers.
But you've seen, you have to hit it like decay. I mean, it's just, so how does that suit you if we're going to go and play in the US?
True.
On
Right.
a PGA tour where everyone hits it forever. It's not like that here. It's more of a shapes game and holding it and feeling, which is why Tiger, again, guess what? Here we are again, has the full package, and he dials it back into the situation. So, I mean, gargling his balls is fair.
Yeah, I like to gargle his balls.
I'm excited. I couldn't be more excited for the Open Championship this week. Old Course, St Andrews. The weather looks pretty good. I think maybe some rain on Friday I saw a little bit, but overall it's going to be pretty warm, which again,
There's a heat wave coming, no, to the UK? That's what I've seen.
That's huge for us, for Tiger, because,
The heat is good for the body.
yeah, he's a little bit of a machine now. We need him loose out there.
Get on those vitamins that you boys were selling, don't they?
That's
Get him sweating.
And then the last thing we hit was Carnoustie last night. didn't tee off till about 6 p.m., which I know we talked about. A lot of people are probably sick of it, but the darkness here and how it doesn't really get dark. We played till 10:20, 10:30 last night.
I think it was
At least.
10:50.
I think it was
10:50.
10:50. We walked up at
Walked up
10:50.
at 10:52.
We played the last hole from probably 10:30 to 10:50 at Carnoustie. And I would say the only shots we really couldn't see were our tee shots and maybe our approach shots on 18.
Yeah.
Other than that, we could see everything.
Yeah, and I think sunset is officially 9:56, but you still have like an hour of daylight left, which it's something I'm just not used to, but it's pretty cool.
Took a picture yesterday as we were finishing up, 10:47. So
Okay.
yeah, 10:50, and the sun rises again at 3 a.m. So it's like never down.
It doesn't really get dark. It never gets fully dark. And Carnoustie is widely, heralded as one of
Carnoustie.
the hardest golf courses in the world. We got it in pretty benign conditions, luckily, but still not easy. It's tight. There's huge bunkers
So tight.
that line each fairway, and there's not a ton of room in between them. So you got to be smart. You got to be strategic. I remember when Tiger almost won there in 2018 that he was hitting irons off tees all day to stay short of those, and then hitting long mid irons into greens instead of taking. I think DJ, they had that graphic one time where DJ outdrove Tiger by like 150 yards on one hole because Tiger was just laying back. So that's kind of what you have to do out there. Or if you feel confident, just blast it over them or through those bunkers and hope you get lucky. But it's a really hard golf course. We're not that good at golf. We got it in pretty benign conditions. Big thanks to Stuart and the whole crew there that kind of set that up. That was a relatively last-minute deal, too. But it was great, pure, proper golf course, as you call it, Trottie.
I mean, it's my favourite, and it confirmed it again last night. I've played it twice now. Played it once in tough rain, and then just to get to do it last night. Playing golf in the UK at twilight like that is something special. It reminds me of my childhood, and just to be out there doing that, and those last few holes are tough. I mean, real tough. And I had a great time. The boys, like you say, looked after us there. And I mean, I don't buy swag from anywhere, and I bought myself a little bit of swag from that place just because, I mean, that's what it means. I'm just.
Trottie was feeling.
You got an awesome hat.
I made them open the damn shop afterwards. I was like, boys, you got to open this. I need to get in. Guys looking at me going, no, this is not a good idea. I was like, well, your boss, I actually called it. I'm like, well, Nathan said you just get the shop open. He said, we'll ship it to you. I went, no, lad, nothing ships from here. We're not doing that. I'm leaving with that cap.
We did that in the restaurant too. We went up there, needed to get something to eat right before. We asked them for takeaway. Apparently here in the UK, getting takeaway is like the biggest deal of all time because they just can't handle it. They're like, there's a separate menu for takeaway. I want to call it takeout. I want to call it to go. They refuse to call it to go. So I'm like, can I just get a sandwich? Like, I need to eat something. I'm about to go play Carnoustie. I'm going to faint out there. I haven't eaten anything all day. She said, no. That's just no, you can't eat today. And then I actually went to Trottie. I was like, Trottie, you need
Put
to
the
help
heat
me.
on me.
I was like,
The
you need to
first
help
time
me.
in the trip, he turned the screw.
We need your service.
And he
I
goes,
was like, all right, I got you.
yeah, he goes, I'll be right back. And he's just working his magic up there, being like, listen, I got my boys here and the whole thing. 10 seconds later, we're sitting down with menus and we're about to order tuna
So
melts.
great. It was so
Credit
great.
card in hand.
Credit
Boy,
card
I
in
trust
hand.
you.
That's
Oh,
right.
my gosh.
And I think that's pretty much it. We're arriving here, it appears.
Look
in
at this, guys. Look
Edinburgh.
at this.
We got all these old.
Talk about an old
Wow.
school United Kingdom city right here. This is fucking awesome.
Look at this.
What is that, Hogwarts?
Look at that.
Feels like it.
Dude, look at this fucking place.
So this is going to be really cool, I think.
shit.
So
I'm getting the boner
Wow,
again.
this is beautiful.
we got a few hours here at Edinburgh, so we're going to shut this puppy down so we can enjoy it. We're going to throw it to Roger McStravick,
Oh, wow.
who we call Mr. St Andrews, who actually just apparently that's not his name,
Yeah,
but we
that's not
call
who
him
he
that,
is.
which is great. And
This
he kind
guy's
of enjoyed
legit,
it.
by the way. When you walk through the Rusaks, all of his books are just like on the coffee tables, and like everyone's reading his history of Scotland and St Andrews. It's insane.
And then he's just on our show for the next hour.
Yeah, it was a long show, so buckle up.
People are going to love it. You're also going to love Owen's craft mixers. It gives everybody the ability to make high-quality cocktail right at home. It's perfect for people like us who don't have a clue about how to make cocktails from scratch. Can you do that? Are you pretty good at making cocktails?
Zero chance.
Yeah, zero.
Pass me a beer.
He doesn't
You
have
literally
the
just
patience.
pour
Yeah, no patience, Rick. We've established
That's
that.
right. My bad.
Gin and tonic, maybe.
You got to connect the dots there. You literally just pour your favorite liquor, then just add Owens, and you're good to go. It's that easy. They get a variety of mixtures that pair with any spirit, including the Barstool Transfusion, which we created, we taste tested. It's in golf courses all over the country now, and if it's not, make sure that it is. Go talk to your course. Owens is at the majority of stadiums and arenas across the country as well. If you're going to a game, get yourself an Owens cocktail, maybe a ball game this summer. Maybe a golf tournament. They're going to have them there too. Go to owensmixers.com. Check out the store locator to find a store that has Owens near you. Or if you don't feel like getting off the couch, order on Amazon or get it delivered in less than 30 minutes on GoPuff. Owens is, again, fantastic. Order a bunch of that stuff to your place, to your pad, to your home. Just add Owens whenever you throw a little liquor in. You're going to have an expert cocktail right in front of your face. Here is our friend Roger.
Well, right before that, we got to say bye to Trottie. We're not going to see him on this podcast before we leave, so thank you for joining the show.
Great trip, boys. Enjoyed it. Always, anytime I'm required, I'm here.
Oh, I think you're going to be a mainstay on this thing.
I've had a great trip, boys. It's been good
been
fun.
a really
it's been great
fun
to
trip.
get to know you.
Yeah, it's really been
Better.
great.
It's been an excellent trip.
Thank you to Ryan, the whole team TaylorMade.
TaylorMade set up one of the most iconic weeks of our lives.
It's fucking nuts,
Absolutely.
dude.
Put this thing together. Ryan Lauder nailed it. We got Essie, Barbuti,
Everyone.
Lauren, Dane, everybody out there.
Ollie.
Ollie's out there taking amazing photos. The whole crew. It's just been incredible.
Craig.
Shout out to Jake Bass, Brendan Jones, Avery.
Those guys fucking hustled
Are
their
grinding
cocks
their
off. I don't
asses
even know if
off.
they have cocks anymore. That's how hard they work. It's crazy. They are cockless. We have a cockless crew behind the mic. They have worked so hard. Dude,
I like that
think
this
about-
is supposed to be
Yeah,
like,
compliment.
They are. No, they are. I mean, they're on the
It's
ground.
like a lizard that grows their
Jake's-
tail back.
Jake's-
and then like,
Cockless
come on,
crew.
still have another
Jake's is
tail.
actually on
We'll need it
17 at
again.
Carnoustie. It just fell off.
I think it's at like 6. He looked at me and was like, "You know what the worst thing is? We're still out here."
Dude, think about how tired we are. Just golfing
Yeah.
and traveling.
We just gotta
and
look
doing-
like assholes on
we gotta
camera
look-
for 6
No,
hours.
they're carrying maybe a 45-pound to 50-pound
crazy.
camera over their shoulder, walking to every single shot. Trent has 100 of them. I've got 90 of them. Think about how many fucking swings
That's a
and
lot of
putts
them. It's like 400.
and all the fucking
Every day.
like the little the nuanced stuff about it, where it's like, oh, like Brendan's in the fucking weeds taking drone shots, and it's mind blowing, and
Yeah.
it's every day. Yesterday was supposed to be an off day, and we added Carnoustie. Think about
Right.
that walk.
Yesterday was an
I know.
off day.
Yesterday was an off day for these guys, so it's
It was their
fucking
worst
crazy.
day. They
They
hated
deserve all the fucking
Big
shout
thanks.
outs in the world. It's nuts what they did out here.
Enormous thanks to all behind the scenes folks. We very much appreciate it, and all of you listeners out there and viewers on YouTube are going to appreciate it because these videos are going to be awesome. All right, enjoy the Open. We'll be back on Thursday for our second show of the week, and then it's go time for the final major of the year. Here's our friend Roger. All right, folks, we're joined by a very special guest today. We are at the One Under Bar at the Russacks. Are we saying that correctly? Rusacks. Hotel just off the 18th fairway at the Old Course at St Andrews. We're with Roger, Mr. St Andrews McStravick. Did I say that correctly?
Absolutely, yeah. Perfect.
How does one earn the name Mr. St Andrews?
That's the first time I've heard it. So
Is that right?
It was on our itinerary as Mr. St. Andrews.
yeah. No, I've changed my name. So. No, I think I honestly have such a passion for this place. You know, I'm Irish, Northern Irish, but I moved here in 2008, and slowly but surely got just absorbed by this fantastic history. You know, so. I do love it with an absolute passion, you know. So, and that's why, you know, I've written 7 books now, and 7 of those books mention St Andrews.
What is your official title?
I just say writer, but
Okay.
but that encompasses historian and everything else, you know. But it's the writing of the books and the researching of the books that I find the most fun.
Okay. Who do you technically work? Do you work for the St Andrews Links Trust or for, you know?
Know myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
like that.
you know, it's great. I have such a personality disorder that I couldn't really work in an office.
Same.
Yeah. So I just found writing, and all throughout my career, and even at school, writing was the one thing that kind of made me happy, and also kind of I did well in, you know. So that's just a pattern that filters all the way through, really.
Yeah. So the 150th Open Championships coming this week, as folks are listening, to the Old Course, St Andrews. How old would you say the golf course actually is? Because we see a lot of different dates and there's different history. How old do you think this golf course actually is?
Do you know what? So there was two laws that were passed, one in 1424 and one in 1457. 1424 banned football. The Scottish people were not allowed to play football. And then they banned football and golf in 1457. So somewhere in between those two, golf becomes so popular that it's taking people away from their archery practice, and because they needed their armies to fight against the English or whoever the invader was.
Right.
So, and golf was obviously distracting enough to but obviously not realizing that. Have you ever seen somebody after a 3-putt? They're a pretty angry bunch.
Oh yeah.
So
how different do you think the game was then in 1400? It's crazy to talk about them playing golf. But how different do you think the game was then from now?
Do you know what? Bizarrely not very different. The only thing different, really, if you could imagine a bag of hybrids, but they're made of wood, that was what they were playing with. These beautiful goosenecked clubs. They're just and they hit the ball about 200 yards. So in links land, where the ball runs and runs and runs, it's perfect. But essentially, a man or lady standing over a ball, and that moment of silence when you're utterly alone and you're about to hit the ball, hasn't changed really in near 600 years.
How cool is that? That's just spectacular. That same moment, all your thoughts, you're alone, you're standing over the ball, it's not moving.
Absolutely.
You're trying to put a good move on it. They were doing that
coughing on the backswing of someone else has been going for 500 years.
For just a really long time.
To describe it as utterly alone when you're over the ball might ruin my whole game today. That's what I'm gonna be thinking about when I'm over the ball. I'm utterly alone right now. Mm-hmm. It's true, but it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is, but it's also why I say, and this sounds a bit strange, but a blind golf shot is almost a pure shot in golf because it's just you, the ball, and your imagination. When people criticise Tom Morris because he had some blind holes, there's a blind par 3 at Royal County Down. But it's just you, the ball, and your imagination, and I think that's the most perfect thing for golf, really.
Wow. That might be the most profound.
You're definitely a writer. Yeah, you definitely are a writer.
Profound thing ever said on
for
this
sure
podcast right there.
But it's you are utterly alone, which I do well at.
As a writer, I dominate that.
Yeah. Your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So this golf course, the old course at St Andrews, how different is this golf course now from the 1400s?
So they originally played a 22-hole course, and so none of these buildings are here.
Yep.
Up the road, and their closing green was about 50 yards to the right of where the green is now. And they played the back nine. The back nine, that was the width of their course. So they played to the same greens. They only, they went out and came back on our back nine. So it was a very narrow course. The land for the first hole didn't exist. That was beach. So it was a very narrow strip they played down. So they played 22 holes. They effectively realised the first opening holes were too short because the first would have been a drive from, say, approximately the 18th green down to where we are now at Rusacks. That would have been the first hole. The second hole would have been to the 17th green today. The third hole would have gone up to Cheap's Bunker, just at the corner, where you drive over the sheds on the 17th. And then the fourth hole would have been a short par 3 again. And they got rid of those short holes, and that brought 22 down to 18. So that's why we play 18 holes. It's not because of whiskey shots,
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I have put in the research myself, being Irish.
Yeah,
it's not whiskey shots. It's literally all the land would allow, in St Andrews. And then when people were looking to St Andrews for guidance about the rules when they're setting up their clubs, we're like, well, St Andrews has 18 holes, so, and that's why we play 18 holes. It's literally all the land would allow.
I can't get over the 1400s year. I never had heard that golf started that early. You always hear like Old Tom Morris, 1700s. The rules of golf were like 1740s or something like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
so who is credited with inventing the game of golf. Then is there a specific person that?
David Hamilton is a fantastic historian, and he lives in St Andrews, and he's a retired surgeon, but he wrote the book Golf, Scotland's Game, and he says that golf is 100% Scottish, because there's rumours that it came across from, Holland, etc. But he said, no, it's definitely Scottish. The long form of the game, where you're hitting a ball to a long distance into a hole, is Scottish. What it's also compared to is, Colf, which is COLF, in Holland. But if you see those pictures, they're playing on ice to a pole, and they're just hitting the ball over a distance. But the Scottish game is into a hole, and it's very distinctive. And things like bunkers were naturally occurring. So it's where the cows and the cattle slept down. So that's where bunker comes from, in the 1800s.
Nope. Great fact.
Amazing.
That was a good one.
I mean, great
One
fact.
that every person listening to this podcast will say the next time they're on a golf course.
You know where bunker came from?
Cow slept in there.
Cows bunked there.
Yep. Bingo.
So they had advertisements in the Citizen, the local paper, in the 1800s for a bunk wife, which was like a landlady who was renting rooms. It sounds a bit dodgy now, but it was just a landlady, renting out rooms, was called a bunk wife.
So what the earliest take of golf is really when it started to become a problem because of popularity.
Absolutely.
Is there any discussion of it prior to 1452 to 1458?
There isn't, in St Andrews, I think there's writings in the 1500s. There was an archbishop here, and he it isn't a charter, but he basically said, because this is all common land.
Yeah.
This has been common land for, I think, since about the 8th century.
Which honestly we all think is the coolest thing in the world. I mean, in the States, you can't go walk Augusta, walk down the fairways.
Put a bullet in your head.
I just walked all 18 holes this morning and had one of the nicest mornings of my life.
Dude, they don't even let you see it.
No.
You can't get near it. There's so many trees. They do that on purpose.
They built such better
walls,
public.
basically.
Right.
So you can't even
With
see
cameras in the trees.
I saw a dog pee and poop like right in the fescue today, and I was like, "That's the best."
It's the coolest thing.
It is. Because it's the people's land.
Yeah.
So on Sunday, the course is closed, so people get to walk across the course, take their dogs out, But that's the sort of spirit of St Andrews. St Andrews was always open and golf for everybody. If you think of those early Open champions, they're all working class. It's not an elite game.
Right.
It's the working class could play. So St Andrews is fantastic for that. I love that the people can just go walk on the course. And most people are respectful. People don't walk on the greens.
Yeah.
People stay off the greens and stuff. So,
Is that common with all golf courses in Scotland, or is it just St Andrews, or kind of what's normal?
Normal is a private members club.
Okay.
Where I'm sure they probably wouldn't mind you walking the dog, but there would be raised eyebrows.
Okay.
Where here, nobody bats an eyelid. On Sunday there's a queue for people waiting to have their photograph taken on the Swilcan Bridge. So I love it about St Andrews.
Yeah.
My son is encouraged to play golf at school, and they did a golf history project, and I sometimes go in and read to the schools, so it really is the home of golf. Everything's geared towards golf.
Teacher probably feels nervous grading those papers, being like, "That's not accurate." And he was like, "That's what my dad says." He's Mr. St. Andrews, so you might want to check your facts on
Four guys
that one.
called him Mr. St. Andrews.
Right.
The poor kid, I've dragged him around the cathedral and all the headstones there, because it's all like Tom Morris and Tommy Morris and Jimmy Anderson and all these greats of, but bless me, he's a very patient little soul, so he puts up with it.
What's the thing you love most about this place? We talk about just being public land, and you walk, and You've gotten the memo that you're Mr. St. Andrews, whether you like it or not. That's what we know you as.
It's over now.
Yeah. What is your most favorite thing about this place?
I love the fact that it does feel like you're walking onto a movie set, because you go onto the first tee, and then it's sort of intimidating because all these memories are flashing through your head. The photographs of Old Tom Marsh standing in the same place. Seve Ballesteros, Holiness put just behind you. Bobby Jones, Doug Sanders, Jack Nicklaus. It's just walked into this fantastic movie set with the RNA behind you. I grew up in the 80s watching these opens, and I love it about that sort of that theater about it. It is terrifying teeing off on the first, because even if you go there at 6 a.m,
Terrifying.
it is, isn't it really?
He's the only one that's done it and had one of the most epic tee box calls of all time.
Yeah, I had the starter was a lady, and there were, because it's the common area for all the folks, the people's land. There were a woman and her child were walking across the little walkway here in the middle of the fairway, and I had my buddy filming, so I'm getting ready to tee off, and as I'm trying to go through my routine, she just screams "Fore!" unbelievably loud, and the people are looking up. They don't really know what's going on, so they finally clear and get out of the way. And so then I tee off, and a tenth of a second after I strike my golf shot, apparently she had noticed more intruders. So I'm like trying to look, and then just instantly "Fore!" and that's all Dior.
As loud as the four calls. We'll show you the video once we're done here. It's amazing.
Oh man,
it's amazing.
It is terrifying, and it's almost like there's nobody around, and you think, okay, at least nobody's watching me, and then as you go to it just feels like a busload always arrives, and then everybody's just watching you. I used to say there used to be a webcam, and I always told people, react as if you've hit the best shot you've hit in your life, because they don't see where the ball goes.
Right.
Just make sure that you do get it out of shot. Just trundles off the tee.
Chunk it 2 feet and just still do the twirl.
yeah.
Do they still have the webcam?
No, I'm not sure actually. I don't think they do, because they had that new building as well. The little pavilion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be fantastic for people whose families could watch. As they're.
You described it so well out here walking around like it's a movie set, and there's such a cool feeling when you are when you see all this for the first time that you get in very few places in the world where you've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
You know it in and out, yet now you're there, and it's almost an out-of-body experience where you feel like you've envisioned yourself in this moment thousands and thousands of times, but now that you're actually there, you're trying to take it in, you're trying to capture it, with your phone a little bit, but not too much, and you're trying to remember what it's like so you can tell people about it. And it's kind of this overwhelming feeling when you walk into this whole little theater for the first time, and it's hard to create. I don't think you can create. These things have to happen naturally over time, and with history and events and accomplishments all happening in the same spot. It's just a really, really rare location in any sport or event that something like this makes you feel that way when you walk out there.
Yeah, and it's you don't have one fairway, you've got 2 fairways.
Right.
And still you're thinking, I'm not going to make this.
This is looking pretty tight out there. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The fairway seems to shrink as the closer you get to your tee shot. But the tip is there's a little bush which is right in the middle, and that's what you aim for. So if you slice it or hook it, then
Should be okay.
you should be okay.
Where does golf etiquette come from? Is that just being a proper Scotsman? Is that the term for it? Scotsman?
No, I think
tucking in the shirt, not saying anything before a shot. All the rules that we've come to know now, and some people take very seriously. Where did that originate from?
I think just I think that just by playing it, the sport, you have to realize that it kind of helps if everybody's quiet. It kind of helps if I have some golfers with me who will tell me no many times how much my ball is heading towards trouble. You might be okay. That's what you need. You need supportive groups. Right. And even if you've seen it going into the deepest bunker, that you'll have a partner who goes, you might have jumped it. So that's what you need. This necessity has created these rules. And there's very few sports where you call a penalty on yourself.
Right.
So I think it's just evolved, really, you know, just purely by necessity, really.
Yeah, because it always blew my mind that, you know, earlier days when they were probably playing rugby and football and they're screaming and yelling and all the guys drinking and stuff, all of a sudden they came and played this sport and everyone was very reserved and just being quiet and tucked in, you know.
Yeah, but in the 19th century, matches between Tom Morris and Willie Park were that.
Oh, wow.
You know, so they were boisterous, and there was lots of drinking involved. There was lots of by the crowds. There was lots of kicking your opponent's ball. There was lots of betting, and bets within shot. So it wasn't just
Kicking your opponent's ball in what way? Like,
so you wouldn't kick it, but
Kick it into
the
a
crowds
bush.
would kick it.
oh.
Oh
You know.
my God. How
So-
fun is this?
So you'd have St Andrews and Musselburgh was the great rivals. I think they won between them the first 24 Opens. So the matches between Willie Park and Tom Morris were really aggressive in terms of crowds. And it got so aggressive in Musselburgh that old Tom walked off the course, walked into Mrs. Foreman's pub and refused to come out because it was impossible to play. So the match was abandoned. Although Willie Park tried to claim the match and was treated like a hero by the locals. But there was so much betting money that people were just livid that he would dare to do this. But it was just impossible because he would hit his shot down the middle and find his ball in the rough, you know, and stood on. You know, so and also the crowds as well. If you imagine the crowds, you could see their bootstraps. So if you're looking down at the ball, you can see the crowd's shoes. You know, as long as you know you can get a swing, they're right there. You know, I kind of would love to see that. Not the drunken debauchery, but a match where the crowds are quite close. I managed to walk with some of the Walker Cup players, and they were just fantastic strikers of the ball, you know, and being able to almost hear them breathe and see them how well they struck the ball was really fantastic. So I'd love to see a match like that where the crowds can get close, you know, because it's really, really exciting, you know, and literally people would shout out odds. You know, so you know, like, you know,
Just make a market right there. 5-1, he can't hit the fairway.
yeah. And as you're looking over the ball, you're
It's this song, man.
you know,
This is what they did. It's incredible.
Yeah, restoring golf courses. Let's restore the fanhood. Let's just
So then the working class heroes, the professional golfers, were able to make a living out of matches. You know, like in one match there was a £400 purse, but they would only get 10% of that. But £40 is split between two, so £20. Sorry, is 4 years' annual salary.
Wow.
In one game.
Oh.
So they can make, you know, that's why, you know, Tom Morris had a house, and you know,
Yeah.
the
Right.
golfers, even though they're working class, are able to buy their own houses, you know.
Did they have caddies? Did Tom Morris have a caddy, or did he carry his own bag?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think Bob Martin, who was also became a 2 times Open champion, caddied for Tom. But yeah, they always had caddies.
Okay.
You know, people had their favourite caddies. And went back to them time and time again. But caddies are fantastic in St Andrews, and they have a brilliant sense of humour. You know, so
Where did that originate from? We heard a story of caddies the other day, but like, did that originate? You talk about like support, like, you know, your friend tells you like, oh, I might have hopped out of that bunker. Is that like you needed support when the fans are just kicking your ball across the course? Like
Somebody on your team.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the Fore caddy came from. They had to go out there so no one was fucking knocking
No
the ball
way.
around. I don't know.
That's a great. Do you know?
Or they
Sorry,
just
what
didn't
was
want
that?
to carry
A
the
Fore
clubs.
caddy, like when they would send a caddy out front, is that because they would stop guys from messing around with the ball?
So good of it.
so the 4 caddy is why we shout 4.
Oh.
Ah,
You know, your 4 caddy, you shout to him 4, so he looks out for as it's coming. You know, but I think it's part of the traditions of the game. You know, and you wouldn't have gentlemen golfers carrying their own clubs. You know,
Right.
and also the caddies would be able to advise. It's the same today. The caddies would be able to advise them about the course.
Right.
You know, Arnold Palmer famously took Tip Anderson, a local caddy, every time. You know, because they just know the course far better than anybody with a notepad could ever do. You know,
Right.
so because they've been born and bred like Tom Morris on, you know, on the course and the links. You know?
Terms like birdie, par, bogey, double bogey, where'd all that originate from? Was that just
Yeah, because they didn't have those things. It was just literally you put a little tick, just, you know, per shot.
so just a +1 or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you see the early open cards, they're just a series of ticks, and then like 3 ticks, and then you put a 3 beside it.
So there was no like par.
No such thing as
Right.
bar. That just has evolved as the game's been evolving. The
So they would almost just write tally marks down,
Right.
basically.
yeah.
Like, this is how many shots.
one
I
took
took.
me
The
6
least
shots.
amount.
Which
Whether-
then goes to our debate of like it's just natural to say what you shot that day, like a 82 or whatever, instead of calling it to over par. That's just how
Yeah.
the game originated. Remember when you were debating on what's your best round ever?
71. It just is. Now,
Right,
you know,
right.
I give
We had a
up.
debate one day.
I give up.
What was it? You played on a par 70 course.
So I played a par 70 course and I shot 1 over, and then I shot a
Did you?
71, and then I shot even par on a par 73 course. So I say my best round is even par,
Yeah.
but now it really sounds like my best round is 71 based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's solidified.
71
I was
ticks.
wrong. Yeah, 71 ticks.
Yeah.
That's my love.
71 times.
Yeah.
Or no.
Or no.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
I get it. Yeah, because the par of that course
Right.
is 73.
Right.
You know, and par is the best. You've
Yeah.
done.
No,
So
it
73.
puts your brain in a
Because
pretzel a
you
little
could-
bit.
You could go to a pitch and putt course and come back with a 29 and go,
Right.
I've shot 29.
Yeah.
So therefore, 73 I think is your best score because you parred it.
My God. Oh my God.
It's good shooting as well.
Thank you very much.
That
Ryan.
is good shooting. So
That
we
one
were
feels good.
we played at Prestwick a few days ago,
Wow.
and drove by we got the whole tour about the inside and a lot of the history. We drove by the Red Lion,
Yeah.
which is where it sounds like the Open Championship essentially was conceived.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I don't know if it was in the Red Line, but it was Earl of Eglinton and Ogilvy Fairley, James Ogilvy Fairley.
And so what David from the club was telling us was that basically after Alan Robertson passed away in 1859, I believe,
Yeah, perfect.
that then 8 different golfers still got together because they had all agreed that he was essentially the best golfer in the world.
Yeah.
And they got together and were like, we have to figure out who's the new best golfer. And that's where the Open Championship came from.
So absolutely, the key phrase is Alan Robertson, and he is actually whom my next book will be on. But Alan Robertson was the champion golfer, and that was a title that that he guarded, and he was like a boxer. He would choose his fights, but so he would never play Willie Park because Willie Park's fantastic and he's a young guy, and he's but he guards the title, but he still is the best golfer and he is the champion golfer. But when he dies, it leaves the question, who is the new champion golfer? And that's why Prestwick created the event. And the professionals had a reputation for being they would, if they won some money, they'd spend it all in the bar within an hour, sort of thing, So the letter went out calling for their most respectable caddies, and so 8 players turned up for that first Open. Prestwick is special. I love it.
It was magical for us to be there and to understand all that history. So then how did it go from Prestwick and them kind of setting up this event to determine who's going to be the new champion golfer to the Rhoda and St Andrews getting involved?
So it was with Prestwick for first sort of 12 years,
Okay.
and then eventually the Honourable Company in Edinburgh, who were based in Musselburgh at the time, and St Andrews came in, and it all happened because Tommy Morris had won the champion's belt. It was like a boxer's belt again, but he'd won the Open 3 times in a row as a teenager and got to keep the belt. So they didn't have an event in 72, I think. No, sorry, they did have an event in 72. It was 71 they didn't have an event. And then Tommy won it a fourth time. So what they did was that they came together, those clubs, and commissioned the Claret Jug. So the reason why we play for the Claret Jug is because of Tommy Morris. And then he won it the first time, but it wasn't ready for the Open Championship. So the first time it was presented was in 73 here in St Andrews. But the first name on that jug, if you get to look at it, is Tommy Morris. Wow.
Look at that. And now here we are.
There's a face on that jug. Do you know on the top handle, like kind of if you were to carry it right by where your thumb might be?
Yeah.
Do you know what that image is or that face is?
I'd have to look at it to be sure, but it might be as a Bacchus, the god of wine or something like that. But I'd need to check it.
That might
makes
be
sense.
it, 'cause
That's
it looked
gotta
like
be
a,
it.
Yeah,
it looked like a god with
Yeah.
like the leaves across the head
Right.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely.
We did a show before the Masters a couple years ago of people giving us their craziest stories at Augusta National, and we had a couple where people would sneak onto the golf course and fall asleep on 12 and look up at the stars or whatever it was. Is there anything that you have come across that is like the craziest thing that had happened on this property? Like maybe someone did something and ruined the golf course, or has there ever been any like moment that stands out that was like a
Shenanigans?
Wow? Yeah.
There's lots from Tom Morris. The story is there's a bunker. There used to be a bunker called Tam's Cow, because Tom Morris was found asleep in the bunker with a cow.
No.
So that's one. Yeah, absolutely. And then I think Gary Player also said that he slept on the beach in his first Opens as well. Because he couldn't afford the digs. So there's lots of little stories.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wow. Slept with a cow. It's
People just sleeping all over the place.
it's something.
I don't want to look too far into that, maybe.
So do you know about the burial pit under the 18th green?
No.
Nope.
So the green was a little green and was pretty much in the position after they moved it across. It was in the same position as the green is today, but Tom wanted a massive green, a big expansive sort of plateau green, and so the workmen started digging up the ground to sort of try to level it off, but they started finding bones, and then they found more bones, and they realized this is a cholera pit. Now you have to remember that 120 years previously they were throwing witches off the cliff on the scores to test if they were witches, and maybe we can come back to that, but so they're superstitious bunch, and they think, oh, this is cursed. But Tom said to them, you have to finish this job or else you won't get paid. So they picked up their tools and finished the job, and it's beautiful green, and it's a fantastic optical illusion, because if you're walking towards the green it looks fairly flat, but if you stand on the steps of the RNA, by the RNA, you can see the massive swale, and the pit is still there today. It's so when the green, and if you were playing the hole, the back right hand corner where it rises, that's where the cholera pit is.
Wow.
Whoa. Let's go back to these witches.
So are the bones of the witches still beneath?
Would you like an easier way to golf? I know you're excited right now. Open Championship. It's the heart of summer. It's July. You're going to want to go book tee times. You're going to do it with the Barstool Golf Time app. One of thousands of courses available by downloading our Golf Time app, Barstool Golf Time app. Now available in the App Store. Our rewards program is available as well. The rewards program is a no-brainer. Use the app because you get access to thousands of courses. You get more affordable tee times. You get tee times whenever you would like. You can set alerts, and then you can reap rewards that you can use these rewards by booking tee times to then get discounted merchandise, tee times, all sorts of good stuff. And then you can also leave reviews so that when your fellow peers out there, golfers just like yourself, enter a new city or perhaps want to go check out a new course they've never seen before, they don't want to just rely on some dodgy photos online or on the ad or whatever. They want to rely on you, your friends, your peers. Go in there, leave a review, tell them how the greens were, how the staff was, were they shit, were they great, And then you can leave video reviews as well. You can read the reviews, you book tee times, get all kinds of rewards, and enjoy a better life. Book your tee time with the Barstool Golf Time app, available right now in the App Store. That is the Barstool Golf Time app.
The bones are from cholera victims, pandemic, there was lots of plagues and, but it was cholera. So the witches, St Andrews had witchcraft issues, pretty much like Salem or, but in Scotland, it was going through a pretty religious, superstitious period, and it's just farcical, really. It is Monty Python, it is. So the theory was that God's water would repel them, a suspected witch, or an unchristian person, because that was seen on a par of, so God's water would repel them. So if they dropped them into the water, they would float, and if they floated, they were a witch. The only problem being is that they dropped them over the edge of the cliff. So therefore, they were likely to die because of the fall. So either they fall and they die, or they float and they get dragged up and burnt as a witch. So it's kind of
It's
like
just a no-win.
It's a no-win.
It's a no-win for them.
And I said burn. It was actually, they used damp wood. So whenever you see, Hammer House of Horror, and it's all burn the witch and stuff like that, they really should be saying smoke the witch, because it's the smoke inhalation that kills the people.
Jeez.
But sometimes they use the wrong wood and they literally burn to death. But mostly they use damp wood like that, and people will die pretty shortly after that.
Wow. So
Tough go there.
Sorry.
you don't want to be a witch.
It's a no-win situation if you get accused of being
You
a
don't want to
witch.
be a witch.
Yeah,
You can't win.
Yeah, absolutely. And also people who ran up big debts in the pub could say, oh, the innkeeper, he's definitely a witch.
Right.
Because you'd be male or female. And so people, that's how they got out of their debts. There was one poor lady. There was an Archbishop of St Andrews who was unwell, and this lady, and there's two ladies, created this sort of mixture of herbs and flowers, and he got well again. And after he got well again, they said, well, can we get paid? At which point he yells, witch. And the working class one was executed. The second one, who was called Melville, I think, came from a sort of well-to-do family, and she was tortured but not executed. But the stain hung around her for the rest of her life, and then she was actually accused of being a witch, 10 years later or so, and was executed.
Jeez.
But yeah, if you just wanted to get rid of your bills, it was brilliant, you said, yeah, that's a witch, definitely,
Right.
I saw them transform into a cat. You just make stuff up,
Wow.
There was one, because I'm writing the book for Crail. Their anniversary is in about 15 years or so, and they have witchcraft as well. And there was one man who was terrified in his workshop because there was a wasp there, and he was convinced the wasp was a shape-shifting, the old lady who lived at the end of the street, who was always perceived as a witch, and just because she liked cats or something, and literally, and the poor woman was, because this man was convinced that the wasp in his shed was this woman.
Just reading books, just enjoying the last days of her life. And
She's just a
it's called
homebody
a witch. Yeah.
who likes cats.
Do we know where that started? Witchcraft?
Just that whole superstition thing is just in Scotland. It's just
Somebody sold the communities of it. Just like, yep, no, that's a witch behind the bar. I'm
Right.
not paying my yearly bill.
That's crazy.
yeah. But so there's a movement at the minute to try to get all witches exonerated and pardoned.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good move.
I know it's kind of hard to go back, look in time, and try to judge it with our eyes, but at the same time, I think there's definitely a movement to.
Yeah. It's fair.
That seems like the right thing to do. I would
Right.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exonerate those witches. So for this Open, how excited are you? What do you look forward to most for Open Championship Week, 150th Old Course? What do you look forward to the most?
Do you know, I'm looking forward to Monday, bizarrely, the Champions Day, and just to see, the players out there. And it is actually Gary Player who I hopefully going to cross paths with, because Gary Player at the centenary dinner in the 1860, it might have been 62, but the centenary dinner, there's pictures of him shaking hands with Willie Ochterloney, and Willie Ochterloney was friends with old Tom Morris, played with him, shook his hand. So I want to shake the hand. I want to get this right. I want to shake the hand of the person who's shaking the hand with somebody who's shaking hands with old Tom Morris.
Yeah.
I bet you that's just cool. I don't blame you.
But
for
it just brings it all to life. He met somebody who knew old Tom.
right.
Instead of being a sepia photograph that seems like it's hundreds and hundreds of years ago, actually it's not really that far back at all. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. And then hopefully on Sunday it'll be Rory McIlroy picking up the trophy.
That's your guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But this, he has a connection back to where I'm from, and it just feels like with Rory when he's every voice in his head is switched off, and he's just playing golf as if he was alone. He is just unbelievably brilliant. He just faces a lot of pressure. Especially when he's back in Ireland. When the Open was there. But I do hope, I really do hope he does well next week.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be one of the better storylines going, him getting the monkey off his back after all these years and coming here, and he's been the champion for the PGA Tour over the last several months. So
yeah,
does part of you find it amazing that this golf course, as old as it is, a lot of the features have remained pretty similar, can still stand up against the best players?
Yeah, absolutely. And people, I keep getting asked about the Bryson question. Is he going to destroy the course? And I've said absolutely not, because once he misses one, and he'll miss one by a mile, it's going to be in the deepest, darkest rough. He will be in trouble. And to win here, you really have the short game of like Lee Trevino. You have to be able to bounce the ball and know where to bounce it. And that takes years. I did a bit of filming just last week. And I was standing about 70 yards from the green, and I hit the ball right towards, bouncing it onto the green. But and I was like, where is it? And it just swelled. And so if you don't know those swales and hollows and bumps, you're going to be in trouble. So I don't think it's something you can come here and blag. And there's always been big hitters, Daly as well. But I think the course itself is just so intricate, especially the back nine, because the back nine is the same course that's been played there for, almost the same for hundreds of years, So, and that's why it's tougher. The whole front nine, the first green, the 18th green, and the front nine is pretty much Tom Morris's creation. There was lots of wind and gorse, and they burnt it all away, and that opened up the fairways for the front nine. And the greens, they couldn't expand the greens that direction because you're going to cut down in the hole, so they had to come sideways. So all the greens are like Lawson's shape, the double greens, and so and they all bizarrely add to 18, so 3 and 15, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the front nine's easier, but the back nine is really tough.
How many times do you think you've played this golf course?
50.
Oh, okay.
Maybe more. It just
you just love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I still think I'm a student. There's so much you need to know and learn, and I hope it's hard and fast. I love the Opens in the 70s and the 80s, where the course was burnt and the ball was running a mile, and I love that, the purity of that, because it's not target golf. You don't hit the ball and it lands in a spot and then that's where it ends up. You have to know every inch of the course and where it's going to go, and that takes a lifetime. And that's why local caddies are fantastic, I would say.
Have they moved on from having it be like that dried out brown look just because of aesthetics and the way golf is going now, or
I'm honestly not sure.
Okay.
But I would love to see a return to the links like that. It just feels more true to the original game. Just a hard running, and that's as locals, we play most of our golf in the winter because the course is quiet. You know, everybody thinks it's like, you know, you've gone to Iceland or something, you know. It's just, you know, and it's not, you know, it's just the ball runs a mile still, you know, because it's sandy soil. And when it rains, it rarely does the water, it has to rain a lot for the water to remain on the surface. Mostly it drains away within an hour, you know, so it's fantastic place, and it's quiet.
I just walked it this morning and actually ran into a caddy that was, I guess, caddied here for several years and then moved on, and we just walked a few of the last holes together. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I think the most impressive statistic, ooh, you got it.
Carry on.
Was that Tiger Woods in 05 never hit it into one bunker during his championship.
That's it. You know,
that's insane to me. Controlling distances, roll, pitch, how the ball rolls.
Yeah.
I mean, there's bunkers everywhere out there.
Honestly, that is key. I played, and I was having I was having a day like the priest in Caddyshack. I was on a really good day, you know. Everything was going in. I could kick the ball and it would have went in. And I'd reached the turn in 5 under. And, yeah. And then
What the hell?
got to the 11th and walked off level because I got into the bunker and I hit it. And the thing is, I didn't know what I know now. The thing is, if you're up the face and you think I'm never going to get this out, just take a drop backwards in the bunker and come out sideways. And so I was there, you know, like the old cigar advert, just whacking it against the, you know, the wall, you know, you're like some insane guy. And then some lovely old man came out and said, "No, come out to the side, son." So I went out to the side, not realizing there was a bunker over there, and I chased him down the fairway. Well, thanks very much, you know.
Yeah, right.
So stay out of the bunkers, you know. And some of the bunkers that look, you might think, oh, that makes no sense. Why is a bunker there? It's because of the change of directions and stuff, you know.
So, yeah, I was looking and I was like, what is this? What is the point of this bunker? And then he was telling me about another story, what is off the 11th green where Hogan just left the course. He was just in the bunker over there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that story.
Jones.
Yeah, sorry, Jones. Yeah,
absolutely. So the myth is Jones got in trouble in the bunker and walked off the course. But the true story, and I'm the editor of Through the Green, which is like a golf history magazine, and Sid Matthew, who's the Jones expert, in the recent edition wrote what the truth is. So Jones did get in trouble in the bunker, and when he got out of the bunker, he did rip his card up, but he played the rest of the round and then asked could he play the next day, which he was allowed to. Gotcha. So he continued to play. Jones always said it was his most shameful moment on a golf course.
Wow.
But he did play.
It's good to know the truth of that.
Yeah, I just had a hot-headed moment, you know, but instantly regretted it, you know. And I love Jones because he has that sort of gentleman aura about him, you know. So he really, you know, and Spieth has that as well. I really like that about Jordan Spieth. Has this lovely aura about him, you know. But he definitely instantly regretted it and wanted to come back straight away.
Was there anyone in the old Tom Morris era that was known as like the hothead that would like snap all his hickory clubs over his knee or anything? Was there like a John Rahm type like lunatic going around? Not that John Rahm's a lunatic, I'm just saying.
No. You're coached by the same guy.
Yeah, Dr. Brett McCabe.
I'm sorry to say that there wasn't, but there was a lot of eccentric caddies and stuff. Tommy was known for breaking his club because of how fiercely he waggled the club, because if you play with hickory clubs you have to swing slowly, you know. And Tommy was supposed to be able to break a shaft because he'd waggle it so hard, you know. But yeah, sorry, I've never you know, but I'm sure there was, you know. You know, the reason why we have the ladies putting club over there was because Tom Marsh created a few holes outside the shop, so for the caddies to do something while they're waiting for a bag, or clubs, I should say, and but the ladies started putting there and using them, and so you had these gentle ladies and these really rough caddies, and the caddies wouldn't have minded their language; they would have spoken, you know. So the idea was, okay, let's move the ladies to somewhere where they can have their own putting club, and because the caddies were they're working class, fierce, brilliant sense of humor, but if you see photographs, that some of them don't have shoes, so even in Old Tom's era, and the biggest problem for the town was that the kids, instead of going to Madras school, which was the new school, they'd come down to the links because they could earn money for their family, so you have these little boy caddies. If you see, there's a portrait of Freddie Tate, the amateur champion. He and his family live here today, in St Andrews, and it's a boy caddy, and that was always the problem about getting them to stay in school to get some sort of education, rather than being down in the links where they would have earned money for the family. So it was a really hard thing. It was like a vicious circle, really. Because you didn't get the education you really couldn't get out of this circle.
We were amazed because we never really thought about it when we learned kind of at Prestwick too that golf was invented and for the longest time was a winter game around. Of
course, yeah, because the harvest's done. They've cut all their crops. So and then also these barren courses, because this was barren, you couldn't grow anything on it. So then they just go out and play in the winter months. It was definitely more popular for the winter sports. You would have your seasons, whether it be the harvesting, the growing, and the ploughing, etc. And then a lot of activity on the links.
Amazing.
Wearing all that heavy, material and the wool and whatever their outfits, and then adding in the cold, wet temperatures. That's insane to us. Like when we were hearing some of the scores that they were making and some of the shots that they were hitting, the distances, especially at Prestwick, that eagle that was made. It's like, how do you even accomplish that with all that on in that cold weather?
But also added to that, so the hole is 578 yards. And so Tommy is at the point of winning his third in a row. So you think, well, I'm going to win the belt outright if I do this. And you think, well, there's a lot of nerves. Must be a lot of nerves. But it gives you a measure of the man that on the first hole, you had what we would think of as an eagle. Some would maybe call it an albatross, if they're only, so it was sublime, but it speaks volumes about Tommy Morris being the sort of confident youth, because he's still a teenager. He's 19, which is incredible, and it's also it's all the more tragic that he died at 24. And he died just a few doors up here.
Really?
Yeah.
How did he pass away?
So his wife had died in September, and so he had moved back in with his mum and dad, and he was obviously grief stricken, and on Christmas Eve he'd been out with some friends and came home and spoke to his dad, Tom Morris, and then said goodnight to his mum and just went to bed. And then on Christmas morning, which you would think is a fairly big morning, Tommy didn't surface. So Tom went to get him and found him dead. He had died in his sleep. And what happened, it had an aneurysm in his left lung. So effectively bled to death. And there's various theories about that. He was on tour with somebody whose family had TB, and maybe something's gone on there. But yeah, it was just tragic, really.
Oof.
And
a couple heavy moments in the show.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know. What could he have won? What would he have done?
Yeah.
Tom Morris went on and created over 100 courses, designed over 100 courses. But what would Tommy have done? How many more Opens would he have won? Would he have won 7 and therefore still be the record holder for the most wins? So it is tragic thinking what was lost, and there was genuine shock, and that's why 60 golfing societies came together to create the statue, which is at the cemetery, and I'm delighted to say they've opened up the cemetery, and they've opened up a path now because it was closed, for the last couple of years, and they've opened it up this week so people can go to Tom Morris's
Is it right
grave.
down? It's right down the road, right
Yeah,
here.
up on the
Absolutely,
left-hand
just
side.
keep
We
this
gotta go
road.
see that.
Yeah, we do.
We drove by it on our way
Yeah.
yesterday. Yeah.
Trottie's all about it.
Yeah,
It is.
have to.
Yeah, honestly, it's brilliant. And there's a photograph of Tom and Tommy together, and they've taken the likeness of Tommy and used that for the photograph. So it is fantastic,
Wow.
And his great granddaughter still lives here and still lives in Tom's house above the shop, and she tends to the grave and keeps it looking
No
pristine.
way.
Yeah.
Tommy Morris's great granddaughter.
Tom
Or
Morris.
Tom Morris. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's still the family's still, she's still here, and looking after the grave, and she's a wonderful ambassador for everything to do with Tom Morris,
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely
insane.
incredible.
There's
But
probably
it's all by the 18th green. It's just there. Alan Robertson lived beside the 18th green, and that's why we have the Open. Tom created the Prestwick course for the Open, and then his son won the Open 4 times, but is the reason we play for the Claret Jug. And also, just to throw it into the mix, their next door neighbour won the Open, was the first to win the Open 3 times, on 3 different courses. So around the 18th green, it is fundamental to Open history.
was this whole town built because of the golf course?
No, this was a place of religious pilgrimage. So the reason why it's called St Andrews is after the bones of the apostle. So they were brought here in the 8th century.
Wow.
And so people were coming here for pilgrimages, and they thought the waters were blessed, not realizing that the waters, you would get pretty close to God if you go into the waters today. It's just ice cold.
Right.
So
Yeah, our caddy said something funny that it's the difference between like where we are with beaches and where at Crail was that children would actually be sent to the sea if they were misbehaving. Like, if you don't like
Wash
shut
your
up,
dishes.
I'm gonna put you in the water and you have to go for a swim, which is totally different than in New York where it's like, can we
Yeah.
please go to the beach? I want to
Right.
go for a swim in the ocean because it's so cold here. It must be like
I have no idea. I was at the beach yesterday. I've got 2 young kids, and we were at the beach, and that's a joy of St Andrews. We can just go down to the beach and hang out. And there was a really big guy, really butch, and his very tiny, slim girlfriend, and and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go into the water, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll go too," and stuff. And they went into the water, and he put one toe in the water. And, I'm not going there. Just complete role reversal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
She was happily going in there and stuff. The guy obviously had no pain threshold. But so from about the 8th century, people were coming here to be near the bones of the apostle.
wow.
And it was so big, that St Andrews had 3 cathedrals, or not 3 cathedrals. They had 1 massive cathedral, the biggest in Scotland, and then 2 monasteries. And all the revenues from all the churches in Scotland came to St Andrews, so it became a very wealthy place. 30% of people employed were employed in the church. And the cathedral and the running in it, or providing accommodation, or clothing, etc. But then the Reformation in 1552, the summer of 1559. I always try to remember the Bryan Adams song because it gives me a clue. It was the summer of 1559. And John Knox gave a speech about the cleansing of the temple and basically against Romanism and removing all the sort of symbols of idolatry from the church. And the locals went and they pulled down the cathedral. They pulled down all the artifacts. All these really historic artifacts were all destroyed, and we don't know what happened to the bones of St Andrew, but they had disappeared. So either they were destroyed or, are taken away.
Wow.
So, but from that point, St Andrews just falls into decay. So for 200 or 300 years, it's just fallen into a hovel. Andrew Lang the great writer, called it a starveling village. 2,000 people lived in the town, and they lived off like the fishing trade and just whatever they could to make ends meet. So it just so the reason why we're called St Andrew, it used to be called St Andrew 'S, and then it just became, they just lost the apostrophe, But
I noticed that it wasn't the apostrophe. Even when you tag it on Instagram, there's no apostrophe.
And there's no full stop either. It's just Saint and then Andrews.
Huh.
But it was like the home of God and then the home of golf. Because the decline stopped in the sort of the 1800s when there's a man called Sir Hugh Lyon Playfair, and he basically created this revolution of St Andrews, bringing in beautiful housing, clearing away all the slums, creating wide boulevards you see on South Street, and brought St Andrews back to its former glory, really. And the whole area around the 18th is Playfair as well. So that's all deliberate. There didn't used to be a path behind the 18th green. Didn't used to be a road here, etc. Over the years, there's been lots of people who have made St Andrews what it is, what Tom Marsh was to the links, Playfair was to the town. But there was a period where it was just desolate, really.
Wow.
Wow. It's just fascinating. It's just such a cool spot to be.
You can feel it too when you walk around the streets. You just feel the history, and we love that stuff. You get too modern sometimes with everything, and then it's nice to just come here where we were saying, like, a lot of the architecture is now like copied in certain areas in the United States and stuff, and you get to see it here. It's like you feel like you're walking in a movie set, even just going to get coffee. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
They've kept it like that.
The pier, the East Sands Pier, just by the cathedral, you'll notice that they used the bricks from the original cathedral. So all those bricks are from, and the cathedral, I think, was made around 1158. So that's how far that sort of stonework goes back to, We
were saying, we were walking at dinner last night, and it was just crazy that we're still as humans living in a lot of the structures that people built even 300 years ago. Like some of the bars were 1700s. It's just we're still just doing it. They built it. It's so solid. It's so good, and we're still living in them. That's insane to me. You know what I mean?
And it's amazing that there's quite a lot of houses you'll walk past, and I'm a trustee of the St Andrews Pilgrim Foundation, but you won't realise you've just walked past an Open Champions house.
Right.
So we're working on that to maybe get some plaques done. I want to get a plaque done for Tommy, because his house, it's about 200 yards from here, and there's nothing.
For sure.
No plaque, no nothing. Yeah. And it's just
someone living in it right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then some students are living in. I think they've divided the house, and some students are there. But I'm not sure.
Do they have any idea?
Tenfold.
Do
they have any idea?
No.
Oh, what?
I know. And it's Tommy Morris's house, and there's the stairs. He ran upstairs, and there's, whereas his wife would have been, So
wow.
But that's St Andrews. There's literally history everywhere. You go down North Street alone, and it's like Tommy Morris's house, Tom Morris's house. Witch burned here. It's just
the witches. You can never get away from the witches.
No.
A lot of witch history.
There is, literally Market Street witch history. Burned witches there.
Roger, this was incredible. We really appreciate this.
Personally, pump up right now that you have any of your books that are on sale right now that you'd like to plug.
The two books. The one for St Andrews is St Andrews in the Footsteps of Old Tom Morris.
Okay.
And that basically guides all around town, because Tom Morris is almost linked to everything in town, So that one that won the first Herbert Warren Wind Award, and then the one that won it last year was called St Andrews: The Road War Papers, which is just about this road exactly here. But during my research, I found in university a load of papers, and the papers was statements by Tom Morris. As Tom Morris in his speaking himself saying, "This is my earliest memories of St Andrews," and absolutely. So instead of somebody saying, "Oh, Tom Morris did this," it's actually Tom Morris talking about his life. So the book was originally going to be called The Road War Statements, because these were all statements about whether they thought the road should be there or not, because it was Jimmy Anderson Open champion, Bob Martin Open champion, etc. So I but then I was advised, people are not really going to understand why it's important. So then it got bigger and bigger and stuff like that. And that's called St Andrews, the Road War Papers. So those two books will hopefully give you a good insight. And then I wrote a children's book called Little Tommy Morris, which is based on the life of Tommy Morris. But it was like I was fed up of reading my son the Gruffalo. So I wrote this. I sent it to a pal in the RNA, Peter Crabtree, who wrote the really brilliant Tom Morris, The Colossus of Golf. And he replied back to me, and he's so much more positive than anything I'd ever written, And he's saying, you have to get this published, you have to do this. So luckily we found this, an artist from New York. She was based in St Andrews, Maria Randall, brilliant artist, and she did the artwork for it. But it's fantastic, and it brings me so much fun. I get to go and speak to schools, and
Awesome.
so it's good fun. So any one of those three.
Great.
Amazing.
Roger McStravick. Is that pronounced correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Roger, we appreciate it. This was awesome. People are going to be obviously really excited about the Open this week, and having this background, this context will help and will mean a lot to a lot of people. I'm sure they're going to chase down a few of your pieces of work and probably dive deeper into it, which we were able to do luckily on this show. So you obviously know a ton about this. You're very passionate about it. So it's very nice of you to share it with us. We appreciate it.
No, happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it.
Cheers.